I hereby call the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission meeting to order on Thursday, September 25th, 2025 at 5:34 p.m. Recording Secretary, will you please conduct roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Diaz?
Present.
Commissioner Gonzalez? Present. Commissioner Jagwe?
Present.
Commissioner Nelson?
Present.
Commissioner Reyes?
Here.
Commissioner Rodriguez? Absent. And Commissioner Wu?
Here.
Vice Chair Zacarías Torres?
Here.
And Chairperson Herrera.
Here.
Records show you have 8 members present. Chair Herrera, you have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able to do so, can you please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we have, thank you all for coming to our meeting today for the month of September. Next on the agenda, we have recognitions for Employees of the Month. Can we start? Would you like to go this way? Okay. Yes. Commissioner Gonzalez, would you like to read the Employee of the Month?
It will be David Ramirez. He's a part-time employee, 1 year with the city, as a program leader too. Recognized by his supervisor, America Robledo. Reason for his nomination: since joining the city of Santa Ana, David has grown and shown great determination in his position at youth sports. He has taken on various coaching responsibilities for multiple sports. During the rookie baseball softball season, David was the head coach for the Coach Pitch softball team, Lady Sooners. Throughout the entire season, David did not miss one practice or game. He kept great communication with his team and was an essential part of the team's improvement and success. David is the first person to volunteer when help is needed and always has a positive attitude. David's eagerness to learn, strong work ethic, and tremendous reliability is what makes David a great employee.
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes, would you like to read the next Employee of the Month?
Yes. This nomination is for Maribel Silva. She's a full-time employee, and she's been with the city for 2.5 years. She's Zoo Operations Coordinator, and Supervisor is Eden Fisher. Maribel is a powerhouse. She handles everyday operations, emergencies, working with internal and external partners, and makes it all look easy. While she's always the glue that holds the zoo's visitor services department together, she has recently outdone herself in a number of ways. Maribel has taken the lead on implementing the zoo's new ticketing and reservation system and has been a force in training and troubleshooting as the zoo has paced into using this new technology, earning her the title of Centaman Master. In addition, because Maribel consistently sees opportunities for improvement and tackles those projects head on, she has researched and campaigned for a new system to provide a greater level of engagement for visitors with the zoo animals. Through a platform called STQRY, pronounced Story, visitors will now be able to scan a QR code at different zoo animals to hear their stories, including photos and audio. In the interest of furthering the zoo's connections with our community, Maribel is an active member with Travel Santa Ana and has coordinated with Main Place Mall on a Zoo Vendor Village event. Most recently, Maribel helped the zoo in its final step to a coordination by supervising while other management staff attended the AZA hearing in Florida. While navigating challenges with staffing, technology, and construction, Maribel never forgets to offer praise where it's merited or to prioritize empathy and compassion. Not only does she take care of the zoo and its visitors, she takes care of everyone who works here and makes the zoo a wonderful place to work as well as visit. Thank you for your services, Maribel.
Commissioner Wu, would you like to read the next Employee of the Month? Oh, is it Commissioner Diaz? Okay.
This award goes to Alexander Juarez. His supervisor is Vianey Munguia. Vianey says, I would like to nominate Alexander Juarez for Volunteer of the Month for his outstanding commitment and enthusiasm in supporting Garfield Community Center through our Volunteers program. At just 13 years old, Alexander demonstrates impressive work ethic, leadership qualities, and a genuine willingness to help others. He consistently brings a positive and friendly presence that uplifts both staff and fellow volunteers. Alexander has contributed in many meaningful ways, including assisting with the setup for our back-to-school resource fair, assisting in running the popcorn machine during the event, cutting flyers for their daily programming, and creating keychains for staff to distribute during outreach opportunities. His proactive approach and eagerness to take initiative make him an invaluable member of our Volunteers program. Alexander is a shining example of a teen flourishing in the Volunteers program. His dedication, leadership, potential, and growth reflect the very best of what this program strives to achieve, and he is truly deserving of this recognition. Congratulations, Alexander Juarez.
Thank you. I have the next Employee of the Month. This is for a part-time employee, Suhiri Vasquez. They've been an integral part of the team for the past 2 years, and they've consistently gone above and beyond since day one. From the start, they've demonstrated outstanding dedication, reliability, and a strong work ethic. They're always punctual, dependable, and ready to take on a task with a positive attitude. Her commitment to excellence sets a great example for the entire team. Lately, they've been demonstrating exceptional ownership and a collaborative spirit that inspires the entire team. Her efforts have not only contributed significantly to the progress of Story, but have also set a high standard for excellence and accountability. Her commitment, attention to detail, and a proactive involvement has been instrumental in driving the project forward and ensuring its success. It is clear that without her passion and persistence, the project would have not been in such a strong position to go live. Their consistent professionalism, flexibility, and strong work ethic make her a deserving candidate for this recognition. We are fortunate to have her as a part of our team. Thank you. Vice Chair?
Brittany Roth. Brittany Roth is a volunteer at the Santa Ana Zoo. She has been a committed volunteer, a zoo volunteer with the Animal Care Department for over a year, while volunteering with the Educational Department prior to that. Brittany is a dedicated helper and is eager to learn new things. She assists the animal care team in the daily cleaning and feeding of the zoo animals and has special interest in animal enrichment as well. Brittany's commitment to the zoo and the animals is evident in her volunteer work, and we are happy to have her here on our team. Congratulations.
And Commissioner Jagwe, Executive Director, do you have some comments?
Yeah, we actually, sometimes we're very fortunate to get, some of our team members into the chamber to meet you guys. And luckily, we have this one in here with us today. So, Miss Samara Mesa, if you could please come up here front and center. Yeah!
Commissioner Jagwe will be reading your recognition.
Yeah. Ready? So it's with great pleasure that we recognize Samira Meza as a September Employee of the Month. Samira is a recreation specialist. She's been with the city for 2.5 years and was nominated by her supervisor, Rudy Hernandez. Ms. Meza holds a degree in history and political science from Vanguard University and began her career with Parks and Rec in December of 2022 as a part-time community center aide for special events. From the very beginning, she distinguished herself by quickly learning the permitting process, effectively engaging with third-party groups, and contributing to the success of citywide special events. Her dedication and eagerness to expand her knowledge and skills led to her promotion to recreation specialist, where she has truly flourished. In her role as a recreation specialist, Ms. Meza has successfully produced city concert series and movie nights, each of which reflected her professionalism, creativity, and passion. Most recently, during our two large citywide events, the Chicano Heritage Festival and the Fiestas Patrias, Ms. Meza demonstrated her exceptional value to the team by stepping up during a period of transition, operating under a new supervisor without a recreation coordinator. She embraced additional responsibilities without hesitation, ensuring every task assigned to her was completed with timeliness and excellence. She consistently approaches new challenges with enthusiasm and adaptability, never shying away from opportunities outside of her comfort zone. A recent example of this was when she unexpectedly was asked by the mayor to participate in a live interview. Without preparation, she rose to the occasion with confidence and poise, leaving a strong impression on all who witnessed her professionalism. Her commitments to excellence, ability to manage multiple responsibilities, and unwavering dedication to the success of her team make Ms. Meza a truly deserving recipient of this recognition. Congrats.
So just real quick, if I can just take a minute, we have Samara here, and we're very, very proud of you and what you've done in stepping up. But at the same time, Samara is really big on teamwork, and it makes me great pleasure that today, if you guys can, Rudy Hernandez, if you can stand up. Rosa, if you could stand up too. So these are part of our management team when it comes to our special events, and they just went through Fiestas Patrias, and for those of you that did join us out there, it was very successful. It was a lot of fun. There was so many community, and these three right here, along with myself, Tim, and of course George, and our community engagement team back there, Oscar, Destiny, and Demi. These are the ones that who are out there in the front lines putting it all together. While myself and Deputy Director Pagano, are doing other things. So when you get a chance to be able to bring my coworkers here in front of you, especially these three, recognize you as our Employee of the Month, as a director, it's very, very proud for me, and I'm sure it is for Deputy Director Pagano. Even George being on the park maintenance side, Susie's seen what we do, she helps us every do, and then with just this team, so it was just, I thought it'd be fitting we trick her to come down here and put them in front of you. So Samara, thank you so much. You guys can join her for a picture, please. Yes, please. No, just hold it on. Or if you can help her hold that. It's coming up. Sorry, guys. It's great to have all 8 of you here today. Alejandra did her best. She came under the wire.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, commissioners and employees, for your work and contributions to the city. Next, we have the public comment section. This is the time for the commission to receive comments from the public. We will not accept any additional requests for speaker cards once we begin the public comments section. If you have not already, please submit your request to the recording secretary. Speakers will have up to 3 minutes to speak. For speakers on Zoom, you must dial *9 from your phone or click the button labeled "Raise Your Hand Now." to be in the speaker queue once public comments commence. Recording secretary, do we have any in-person or Zoom public speakers?
I believe we might have one in person. And I also received an email comment that I passed out to each one of you and will make available online after the meeting. You can come up. It's okay. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Senator, and I'm a volunteer down there at Delhi. Is it? I believe it's on. Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Bruce Senator, and I'm a volunteer down here at Delhi. I also volunteer at the Orange Senior Center. I was here a number of weeks ago at the City Council meeting, and that's when I found out about the issue of negotiations or discussions about possibly privatizing certain areas of the public parks and sports facilities. And so I spoke out twice at 2 City Council meetings, and I had to discuss with Jennifer on the possibility of bringing an initiative to amend the city charter and the ordinances, rules and regulations to prohibit that. And it's going to take some work, so I'm here at Parks and Recreations to let you know that I will be in contact with you and the city attorney and so forth, city manager, so that we can draw up a proper initiative if it's needed. At the same time, we're going to need access to the groups that do sign up and use your Parks and Recreations now, so we can contact them to see if they do want to participate in petition signing and so forth. So we need to find out when your events are. I do have the website now, savingoursports.com. I also have the same on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. And so we're just at the formative stages, getting it set up. The website just has an initial template and does have to be updated substantially in the next few weeks. But we're migrating, or we're moving, trying to get everything together so we can make an appropriate decision whether to go forward. And if we do, so that we give the appropriate notice to the city, so that everybody is really clear as to what we intend to do and so forth. And I've also requested the city council to take it on their own initiative. It takes 4 members of the city council to put it up for a vote, so that we do not even have to go out and get the petition signed. But then again, it depends on what the city council wants to put up in the initiative. So they may have an idea that we either agree or we may not agree with, so there is going to take some work to try and get that ironed out. So I just want to let you know that we're at the beginning stages of it. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And so, like I say, it's probably going to be a month or 2 before we get to the stage where we can say we're going to issue the official notice to the city, which will start the process. Okay? So I just thank you for your time, and I'll let you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Recording secretary, do we have any additional comments?
No, not at this time.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, Madam Secretary, next is the consent calendar, items 1 and 2. Do we have any commission members that wish to pull any of the consent items? I believe it's the notes from the agenda, from the notes from the previous meeting, as well as any excused absences. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar if there's no items being pulled?
A motion.
Commissioner Diaz,
I second.
seconded by Commissioner Wu. Can you please conduct roll call, Madam Secretary?
Yes, motion by Commissioner Diaz, seconded by Commissioner Wu to approve items 1 and 2 of the consent calendar. Commissioner Diaz,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jagwe,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez, absent. Commissioner Wu,
Yes.
Vice Chair Zacchaeus Torres,
Yes.
and Chair Herrera.
Because of I was absent at the last meeting, do I take a vote for that?
You can still.
Okay, then yes.
The vote is 8 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 absent. That motion carries.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Now we'll move on to the business calendar section of the agenda. I'll turn this over to Executive Director Hawk Scott to review the 10th and Flower Park naming.
Thank you, Commissioners. Before I bring up Deputy Director Pagano, I just wanted to go over something that's very unique with our commission when it comes to voting. We had a little bit of a hiccup on our last commission meeting. I was not here. I sent Executive Director Fisher, and I forgot to remind him that we are a commission of 9, so that does change things a little bit, however. So I'm just going to go over that real quick before Deputy Director Pagano goes over, but we are bringing this item back fully. So it's going to be reheard, resaid, and you guys can comment on it, vote on it, and it'll be done, by our bylaws. This is a short start on my end, and I do apologize for that. So with that being said, out of all the commissions, we are unique because we have 9. We have the 7 from each ward and mayor, and then we're lucky to have our 2 senior representatives, which we do love having, both of you guys. So thank y'all so much. All right, so when voting, with us, we don't have any super majority votes with our commission because we don't do any transferring of money. Anytime you need a majority vote, that's with council when there's being money transferred, moved around, stuff like that. We do not deal with that. We always deal with majority votes. So with us, if we have a full board of 9 on us, then a passing would be 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So 5, 4, 6, 3, and all the way so on to 9, 0. Right? We're missing Commissioner Rodriguez today, so we are 8, but we would still be at 5. So the majority vote with having 8 would be 5. So today's vote would be 5, 3, 6, 2, 7, 1, and 8, 0. Okay? When we drop down to 7, that's when the majority turns to 4. Because you can't have a majority with 5. You're going to have it with 4. So it'll go to 4, 3, 5, 2, 6, 1, 7, 0. All right. And then the last one that we will have is when we have 4 with 4, because we do have quorum. 4 is still quorum. Majority vote would be 3 on that one. So it'd be 3, 1 or 4, 0. So it's pretty simple. We will always have majority like that. So in this instance today, we will need 5 votes to move it along to the Planning Commission. Right? If we were to have 9, it would still be 5. However, if one of y'all were missing, then when we go back to 4 would be the majority. Are there any questions on that? You can ask. Again, that was an oversight on mine. I do apologize for that. But again, we want to bring it back. You got me here, you got Tim here. We were both, all over the place last week. And, we're here now. And like I said, Deputy Director Fisher was coming off a big trip. So we do apologize about that. Are there any questions when it comes to majority vote, us not having it as well as having what we need to pass? All right. Then at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Deputy Director Pagano to go over the 10th and Flower Street naming parking.
Good evening, Chairperson and members of the Commission. Happy to be with you tonight. We will go over our PowerPoint presentation for the naming of 10th and Flower Street Park site. So we'll move on to the next one. I believe you guys, a majority of you guys saw this graphic last time. This is the conceptual design of 10th and Flower Street Park site and how it will be constructed once we get underway. We do have a couple areas to point out. There is a skate park in the lower right-hand corner, a full basketball court, tot lots with shade, and there is an adaptive crosswalk that is just to the upper left-hand corner that will cross over Flower Street as well too. So very excited about this opportunity, and now we have the pleasure of being able to recommend a name to the Planning Commission to be forwarded to the City Council. Just a little background, location is at the intersection of 10th and Flower Street. This new 1.4 acre park will provide the local community with access to open space, exercise and recreation facilities. This park would be a walk-up pedestrian park without a vehicle parking lot, and would primarily serve the local neighborhood. Staff crowdsourced suggestions from the community to assist in naming the new parks, and requested a recommendation from the local neighborhood association. So just to kind of go back, there were 3 suggestions that were forwarded at the last Parks and Rec Commission meeting, that we now have a 4th. So I think that you can see that in your agenda packet, but we'll go over how we sourced those as well. Over 30 unique suggestions were received that met the Santa Ana Municipal Code criterion, and we'll move on to that slide. And again, the SAMC criterion, this is what guides us in the naming of our park sites. It basically covers distinct geographic, environmental, and developmental features of the immediate area, history of the subject site, identifies a person or family having made an extraordinary donation of land or funds, or it recognizes a person or family who made distinct significant contributions to the city of Santa Ana, and this includes past mayors, council members, board or commission members, officers or employees of the city, and it does exclude anybody that is currently holding any such position. So in our crowdsourcing efforts, it was a little bit modified of an approach this time around. You may have noticed to that of Bristol and Tolliver, where there was more of expansive crowdsourcing effort. We received direction from administration to really focus in our attention on the Willard Neighborhood Association and their suggestions, in addition to a very smaller footprint related to our social media campaign, which is usually more expansive. But this time around, we ran a very small campaign with the focus on, working with the Willard Neighborhood Association. That's why, as opposed to seeing all the submissions for Bristol and Tolliver, we only had 30 name submissions for 10th and Flower. Of those and the votes that were collected with regards to our crowdsourcing and working with the Willard neighborhood, the names that were forwarded for your consideration are Flower Park, Flores Park, Freedom Park, and El Parque de Pueblo, and this one was submitted by the Willard Neighborhood Association after last meeting and the recommendation from the commission for us to dialogue with them. If we can go to the next slide. So the only recommended action that I would share from you from a parks staff perspective is that, if we can go back to the previous slide, Hiram, my recommendation to you from the staff side is, while Willard forwarded El Parque de Pueblo, we get into the redundancy aspect of things because all of our parks have the park as the ending distinction of all of our park spaces and everything. So in this particular instance, if you were to vote on El Parque de Pueblo, it would be El Parque de Pueblo Park. So our recommendation from a staff side would be to name it Pueblo Park so that it is in alignment with the other 50 parks that we have within the city. But that is for your consideration and for your discussion. If we could forward. So the recommended action to the commission and the body here to recommend the name of the 10th and Flower Street Park site that will be forwarded to the Planning Commission for their consideration. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Do we have any comments or questions from the commission? Commissioner Diaz?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
I see Willard Park Neighborhood Association. How many parks does Willard have?
This would be their first one. Outside of Willard Intermediate School, which we can access for community hours and everything, we wouldn't necessarily consider that a park because, again, we have to open and shut a gate. So this would be their first park space.
That was my question, because I was thinking, I went to Willard. And, Willard Park would be in their first park, because I don't think there's any other park in Willard.
Correct. I mean, there is the little playground site that is on the corner of, I think it's 15th and Parkland, but to consider that a park, I mean, if you took a look at what that represents and the conceptual design of the 10th and Flower site, there's a vast difference.
Is there, can we recommend Willard Park or no?
At this time, because you guys are more of an advisory, and a recommendation, we can always put it in the staff report for consideration by the Planning Commission. Again, it would be a sub-note. So what we're asking you to do is to vote on these 4 names, recommend a a name to be forwarded to the Plan Commission, but you could also do it in a motion that would include the consideration for the park to be named Willard Park. And again, it would just be a byline in our staff report so that they would be able to consider it if that were to be your motion.
Or, maybe Pueblo Willard Park, just because I know there's no parks in Willard. So,
Well, and if I may clarify, the El Parque de Pueblo did come from the Willard Neighborhood
that's-
Association.
okay.
So that was a direct, A to B, this is what we would like our park to be named. The only difference is that in order to not be redundant in the naming of El Parque de Pueblo Park.
oh, we need to
is
add the
in-
park at the end.
Yeah, it would just be to name it Pueblo Park so that it wouldn't be redundant.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Corey, Commissioner Nelson?
So just for my clarification, Angels Park, which is on Flower, is it the name being changed to Flower Park? Because there's a sign in the middle of the median that says,
I think
believe,
that's representative of the neighborhood association.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of discussion around that. When I watched the replay of your commission meeting
Yes.
last time, yeah, I saw a lot of the discussion around Flower Park. But that's to recognize the actual Flower Park Neighborhood Association that is in that area.
I feel like we've talked about this park as 10th and Flower Park for so long, it's almost its name, right? Like 10th and Flower.
I believe it was called Flower Park before the Angels gave us the money, so, and then it was changed to the Angel Park. I want a motion that we call it the Pueblo Park with recommendation of, what did you want us to say? A recommendation of calling it the Willard Pueblo Park, a recommendation from the commission.
I was just asking because Willard doesn't have any parks, and it's called Willard Park Neighborhood Association.
Well, I just wanted to add it on, that we do recommend that as a second, but we'll go with, isn't that correct what you stated?
Yeah, so if you were to make a motion, Commissioner Wu, it would be the motion would be to forward the name onto the Planning Commission for Pueblo Park, but with a note in our staff report saying that for the Planning Commission to consider calling it Willard Pueblo Park, which is it's a deviation from what the Willard Neighborhood Association actually provided us. But again, that would then be up to the Planning Commission to decide whether or not they would forward Pueblo Park or to add Willard on the front end of that, if that's your choosing.
Would that be a good recommendation? Okay, yes, I'm so motion.
Before, I wanted to also continue the discussion. In reviewing the meeting, the last meeting, there was, I came prepared to talk about Freedom Park. And, I believe that was the discussion where this commission was going, so I prepared my comments that I would like to read into the record. As chair of the commission, I want to speak directly and candidly about the proposed name of Freedom Park. At its surface level, freedom is a value we all hold dear. I believe in freedom, the freedom to speak, to live without fear, to gather in spaces like our parks, and to participate fully in civic life. These are fundamental to a healthy democracy. However, as public servants, we also have to be responsible for understanding the context in which we operate. Words, especially those used in public naming, are not interpreted in a vacuum. They carry cultural and political meaning. And right now, the term freedom has been increasingly politicized in ways that do not reflect the inclusive, community-centered values of Santa Ana. We've seen this play out in neighboring cities. Recently, Huntington Beach Community and Library Services Commission, along with their city leadership, installed a plaque in their public library with explicit reference to Make America Great Again, framing it as a tribute to freedom. That was their decision, but we must take a different approach here in Santa Ana. We are a city built on diversity, on immigrant heritage, on working families, and on a commitment to equity. Our park and public spaces should reflect that, not mimic political messaging or national slogans that have been used to divide rather than unite. That is why, in good conscience, I cannot support the naming of this park as Freedom Park. I will not be voting in favor of it. This is not a rejection of freedom. It is a recognition of how this word in today's climate can carry unintended weight, and how as stewards of public spaces, we have a responsibility to ensure that every resident feels welcome, included, and seen. I encourage this commission and our community to consider a name that reflects Santana's unique story. Let's ground this space in our local history, its cultural significance, or something that genuinely brings people together. Thank you, everyone, for this engaged and thoughtful process, and I trust that together we can choose a name that reflects not only our values, but our vision for the future of Santana. So I understand that maybe this is where the conversation's shifting a little bit in terms of the name, but at least for the record, I wanted to clarify my position in the naming of this park. Vice Chair Zacarias Torres?
I think what I've been waiting for was what Willard Park Neighborhood Association was more leaning towards, because I want to respect what that neighborhood in that will be, that where the park will be, to have a say. If we do pass the motion to name it Pueblo Park, I feel like it'll take away from the meaning, because Pueblo is just town. So if we say town park, I think it takes away from the meaning of El Parque del Pueblo. Because when you're saying, like if you're going to tell someone, oh, I'll meet you at El Parque del Pueblo, I think it would be different if you tell them, I'll meet you at Pueblo Park. So I think I want to respect Willard Park Neighborhood Association's recommendation, and I would vote against the recommendation of Pueblo Park, and I would keep my vote for Parque del Pueblo.
Commissioner?
What about if we named it Del Pueblo Park? The town park, we just put the del in front of it. Still kind of keeps some of that, and I actually like Pueblo Park. I think the name is good. It's a good mix, and it feels like it's kind of ours, like it's right there. So I would say Del Pueblo Park. And I think we had a question in the, all right, never mind.
Do we have other comments from the commission?
Do you guys think maybe instead of del, just El Pueblo Park? Because we need to add the park at the end, right?
That would be the staff recommendation. Again,
That's the staff,
I completely
Or-
hear what the vice chair is saying. And again, it is a deviation away from what Willard Neighborhood Association recommended and forwarded. But I'm hearing a lot of variations in how we're trying to decide this and everything. So it's at the pleasure of the commission. I think what would end up happening from a format standpoint, we have a motion on the table for it to be Pueblo Park with a note in our staff report that would be forwarded onto the Planning Commission. So that would at least need a vote, and if a majority is had, then it would pass. Beyond that, then there would be sub-motions of Del Pueblo or El Parque de Pueblo Park or El Pueblo.
Or El Willard Pueblo Park? Like, I'm just concerned that, Willard doesn't have any parks. And I'm very, very happy that they were able to come up, with the name, because last time, the neighborhood association's name was not included. So just to.
Can I amend to do, what was the preference, D or L?
El Willard Pueblo Park? Right?
Okay,
Because
I'll add that.
instead of Del, DE, just EL, but, just open to this.
So I think
Okay.
we have Commissioner Wu, and then after Vice Chair Zacarias Torres.
Yeah, well, I
And then
would change
Commissioner
that
Reyes.
to the, what was that, L? Pueblo? Okay. I would change the recommendation, or the motion, I'm sorry.
To El Pueblo Park?
Yes.
Okay. So then, Vice Chair Zacarias Torres, followed by Commissioner Reyes.
Comment?
Go ahead. You can go.
Because, the name of the park is in Spanish, right? So, if you want to translate it in English, it's not going to sound the same ever. So, this is perfect, the way it's El Parque del Pueblo. if you wanna add park. It already says park in Spanish. So if you wanna name it in a way that also is gonna sound in English the same, it's not gonna be the same. So it's either, Del Pueblo Park is perfect because Del Pueblo, and then the park. But if you put El Parque del Pueblo Park, is gonna be kind of weird. So I think I motion Del Pueblo Park. Sounds really, really good.
Okay, we're getting somewhere here. Vice Chair Zacarias Torres?
We are a bilingual city, so I don't really see an issue with representing how bilingual our city is and still keeping the spirit of the name that the neighborhood association recommended. But I think we should, yes, that's my comment.
Any additional comments?
I too agree with her in regards to what the neighborhood wanted. That is something that, my comment was just to ask him, that they didn't have, but I do agree that the neighborhood association should have a say and to be priority, only because they were the ones that worked really hard and advocated for this to happen. Just like the Washington Square people are coming over and they advocated. Only God knows how many years they worked on this. So, and I tell you as an experience, when I worked on getting the Pacific Electric Park, it just took us 9 years to work on it. So that's why I truly want to honor what the neighborhood wanted, because we worked so hard, believe me, hard, that we actually thought about the name for a long time, and we did research and we did history research. And so for someone to just come and kind of like throw another name out there was kind of painful, but thank God we were able to, stick to our grounds, and we named it Pacific Electric Park, but, because of the history. So I too want to, I think honor what the neighborhood want. My question was, we just need to add a park at the end, right?
Yeah, and ultimately, if there was a motion to follow the Willard Neighborhood Association's recommendation, yeah, I mean, it would be the one thing that's not like the others. It would ultimately be El Parque de Pueblo Park, and that's what we would, title it in all of our literature. That's how we would recognize it, as the Parks and Recreation Department. And it's maybe time where we have 2 parks. It's so nice we named it twice, so there you go. That's right.
Okay, so I think I will second Vice Chair Zacarias Torres' motion to name this after the Willard Park Neighborhood Association to El Parque del Pueblo Park. If there's no additional comments, maybe we can vote. Recording Secretary?
Sorry, I didn't hear the motion from Vice Chair. What was
Was the original motion, does the original motion still stand? Can we add another motion?
Well, the original motion was not seconded.
Correct.
And so then he
Okay.
proposed a different motion, I just seconded.
My motion is to is to recommend the original name as the Willard Park Neighborhood Association recommended.
And you seconded, okay. Is there any other motions? Okay. No? Okay, I'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. So a motion by Vice Chair Zacarias Torres and seconded by Chair Herrera to recommend El Parque de Pueblo as the name of the 10th and Flowers Street Park. Commissioner Diaz,
Just a quick note, El Parque del Pueblo Park.
sorry. To
Yes.
recommend El Parque de Pueblo Park as the name of the 10th and Flower Street.
Yes.
Commissioner Diaz? Yes, okay. Commissioner Gonzalez?
No.
Commissioner Jogwe?
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson?
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez is absent. Commissioner Wu
No.
and Vice Chair Zacaris Torres
Yes.
and Chair Herrera.
Yes.
The vote is 6 ayes, 2 nays, and 1 absent. That motion carries.
Congratulations, everybody.
We have another park. This is great. Thank you, Deputy Director. Now we'll move on to the informational reports of this agenda. I'll turn this over to Parks, Recreation, and Community Services, Tim Pagano, to present items 4 and 5.
Good evening again. Happy to be with you. And in the spirit of the presentations that are going to be taking place from my counterpart, Susie and Jorge, I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible. We are, ultimately closing out our summer season in the Recreation and Community Services division, but wanted to go over some key impacts that we had during the months of August. So if we can go to the first one. We have a lot of sports that are currently starting to ramp up and also close down. Our youth sports program is very successful. Again, I think I mentioned that our baseball, softball season ended, and we have the biggest softball program throughout the city, which is something that we're very proud about. Flag football began just last week on September 15th, and our boys basketball registrations opens on October 13th. Our adult leagues basketball season was completed on September 23rd. Volleyball and kickball registration closes on September 28th. Our co-ed kickball turkey bowl tournament, the second annual turkey bowl, will be coming November 22nd at Jerome Park. In addition, our youth sports team, our athletics team, conducted the Roberto Clemente baseball clinic on the 15th of September over at Jerome Park in collaboration and partnership with the Anaheim Angels. It was a great event. We had about just over, I would say, 160 youth that came out and participated in the clinic with our youth sports team, in addition to members of the Angels personnel. All the folks in attendance received Angel tickets and a lot of giveaways, and it was a really great time, and we're looking forward to foster that relationship with the Anaheim Angels. In addition, our athletics section will be hosting its first open house event, Autumn Fest, over at Salgado Recreation Center on Saturday, October 4th. So next Saturday from 5 to 8 p.m. So everybody's invited to attend that. And those are some shots for our athletics section. We move on. For our aquatics section, our overall participation increased 5% from 2024, despite only operating 3 out of the 5 aquatics facilities, and we're looking forward to bringing those aquatics facilities online next year. So our program will be growing immensely. Our swim lessons, we gave 2,680 lessons to the general public, but that doesn't capture the amount of swim lessons that we also provided to our summer day camp program, as well as summer splash day camp program. And in total, we gave over 826 scholarships this season, so that people would go from a $55 lesson to a $15 lesson in order to gain access to swim programming and being able to access the pool. During the off-season, our aquatics team will focus on pursuing grant opportunities. That's from USA Swimming, Kaiser Permanente, and also the American Red Cross. In fact, we actually got great news the other day. Our American Red Cross Centennial Campaign grant, we thought it was a 3-year grant. It's actually been extended till 2028, so we're going to continue to work under the Centennial Campaign with American Red Cross for the next 3 years. Overall, our aquatic section gave 4,009 overall swim lessons provided to the community this summer, which is a big increase from our first year, which was about 1,500. And this is our pictures of our swim team, our aquatics team. Our community engagement section, I think all of you have seen our Cultura Guide. The fall edition was released Labor Day weekend. Our social media growth is at plus 8% of Instagram followers. We had 166 social media posts since July. Our top posts were our memoriam to Vicky Tafoya, who participated at 2 of our Chicano Heritage events, our Chicano Heritage Festival, and a recap reel, and also our Fiestas Patrias announcement. We have achieved 10,000 followers on Instagram, which is a big milestone for our team, so I'd like to congratulate our community engagement team there. And then our sponsorship, we received $25,000 from Market Co, Disneyland Resort for Fiestas Patrias. So our community engagement team is at the forefront of bringing in those sponsorships so that we can enhance our overall programs to the community. Our health and wellness section, Roosevelt Walker Center has created circus trainings that started on Mondays and Thursdays with 384 participants for July and August. So that's a very popular program. Community gardens are going to be shifting away from our summer programming now that daylight savings time is ahead of us. So our new garden hours will be 3 to 6 p.m. probably starting this week, I would imagine, as I think the 22nd was the fall equinox. So we will be shifting our timing of our garden operational hours. And our Wilderness Club, Crystal Cove and Newport Coast, our upcoming Wilderness Club excursions. In addition, for the months of July and August, we had just under 1,500 visitors to our 5 community gardens. Our senior services section, we have over 30 unique offerings in terms of daily programs at 2 centers, including fitness, arts, English as a second language, and tech opportunities. Nutrition services, over 40 meals served daily, monthly for our Emergency Food Assistance Program. I always put the acronym up there, but I never explain what that is. So that's what TEFAP stands for. And we've had 25 new registered participants. Overall, we serve about 115 congregate meals per day at both centers. So that means that if you come to our centers and you're a member of our center, you're afforded a lunch opportunity. So we do 150 meals a day at both centers. And lastly, we have events, transportation, health and wellness seminars, our monthly celebrations, and wanted to invite you again to another opportunity. We have our International Older Adults Celebration, which is taking place Friday, October 3rd, from 9 to 1 p.m. at Jerome Park. So please put that in your calendars and plan on attending. Special events. We've gone through our special event season, and as Executive Director Scott mentioned, we had our special events team here, or a portion of our member special events team. They did a fantastic job, essentially from June, when they do movies in the park, to July 4th, to Chicano Heritage, to Fiestas Patrias. They're go, go, go during that 4-month period of time. And for Chicano Heritage, we had an estimated attendance of about 3,500 people. We had a very successful car cruise that went from the Bristol Edinger lot all the way over to Centennial Park. Fiestas Patrias, I do have numbers here in terms of what we did year over year. For the weekend, we had roughly 64,000 people join us this year. That is down almost 16,000 from the previous year. On Saturday, we had 31,000, and that's down about 5,000 from the previous year. Sunday, we had 33,000 people, and that's down about 11,000 from the previous year. Our parade was 3.3 thousand people that were in attendance, and that's down about 1.5 thousand people, for 1,500 people from the previous year. I only bring that up because, you know, as we were planning Fiestas, there was a lot of decisions that were made, especially considering what's going on in the world, specific to Santa Ana, but much broader, obviously. And we knew that there was going to be a hesitancy on the part of the community to join us for Fiestas Patrias. And again, our perspective from Recreation is that we are merely the folks that bring the event, and it's up to the community to decide whether they feel safe and want to access the event. And so we're still happy that we received the numbers that we did. 68,000 people is not anything to, be disappointed about, but it certainly didn't match what we've done in the past couple of years, especially last year when we first brought it to the downtown. But our special events team did a wonderful job this year, and they should, and you guys did recognize them and applaud them. Upcoming events, we have our Plaza Navideña event on Saturday, November 22nd. So we're looking forward to putting that on for everybody. Youth and Teen Services section, we had a back-to-school resource fair that took place on August 22nd at Garfield Community Center. I want to say there was upward of 150 people that participated in that, so very successful first time for our Garfield Community Center team. Teen Excursions is back and underway, and our first trip is Knott's Berry Farm on October 11th, so in a couple weeks. So we invite anybody that's interested in participating to please reach out to the Parks and Rec Department so that we can put them in contact with our Teen Services section. This year, Splash Camp, I referenced it earlier, but from June 30th to August 8th, we had over 1,350 participants this year, which represents 90% fill capacity, which is a great number to be at, especially for a summer day camp. So kudos to all of our summer day camp team members. They did a wonderful job. And upcoming, we have our Kids Fall Camp, Thanksgiving week, and our Kids Night Out, which is referenced in the Colts Row. And with that, just a summary of everything that I just shared. 1,700 filled permits, a dozen of special events activations, hundreds of classes that continue to impact the community positively. And I think that's it for me. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Deputy Director. Do we have any questions from the commission? Commissioner Diaz?
I have mainly just like a suggestion maybe for your team or your staff. I see you have an event in August that is very close to Fiestas Patrias. I would just like to ask if there's a possibility of moving that event, close to the beginning of August, just so your staff can have more time to kind of like, breathe in, breathe out, take a rest. And because I think two events that that big, especially Fiestas Patrias is a lot bigger, I think it might take a toll on your staff, like it's tiring. So just a request, just an FYI, that perhaps it could be moved, like maybe the first Saturday, and then, give enough time for preparation of Fiestas Patrias.
Understood. Thank you. And we are in alignment.
Because Fiestas Patrias is a 2-day event, but it's an all-day event. That's just my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to congratulate the team for a successful Fiestas Patrias. I'm always, I'm very proud of what we were able to put out to the public. And, it is a little, I also was, the council did have this discussion around whether we should cut funding for these programs or, whether the public would come out. And I'm happy that Santana is so prideful in these types of events to want to show out. I know folks are scared and, won't come out. And, but there's also, we shouldn't let fear dictate how we show up for ourselves and for our community. And so, I encourage you to continue to have these events in the public, also considering, safety plans for folks in case, our communities are impacted. In relationship, I was able to attend on Sunday, and, folks had reached out to me. So I'm curious, maybe for next year, the lot may not be there. Are there, what considerations do you may have, or, is your recommendation to the city council to have this event again next year? To, or if there's cuts to funding, we're a lot of those conversations were had this year. I want to get your assessment of maybe that question is your recommendation to have this event again next year?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it would be a disservice, I think, to the community. And again, from our perspective, we can recommend all we want. At the end of the day, city council is going to give us the direction. But again, our role in recreation is to provide the opportunity and maybe for a moment a distraction to what's going on in the world. and allow people to feel a sense of normalcy for maybe just a day or two. So we're happy to continue to do that. It will be challenging next year if Northgate and Red Oak Investments, chooses to start construction, which they have indicated that they will on the 4th and French lot. So that will present a whole nother, set of challenges and opportunities for us to reimagine fiestas next year somewhere in the downtown area. If we were to provide our recommendation from a staff perspective, we would recommend that we would go back to Flower Street where it was held, I think, in 2023 and 2024, merely because there is a negative impact to the small businesses in the downtown area, even though we do invite them to participate as vendors on the street, on 4th Street. We do hear from them and their frustrations about, the lack of exposure or maybe their storefronts being blocked by some of the vendors that we're putting on 4th Street and stuff. So we certainly don't want to create ill will and like we're tone deaf to what their frustrations are. But again, that will have to be decided on by the city council and the administration.
Great. No, and thank you. I hope our council continues to invest in programs like this. If they, if funding is cut for next year, maybe offering to bring Fiestas Patrias for one day, before cutting it out completely. I know we're in finances conversation, but yeah, I want to applaud your team for such a great event and would encourage the city council to continue this funding for these events. Vice Chair Zacatecas Torres.
So on that day of Fiestas Patrias, there was also someone that morning that got detained. Looking at the drop that went from, in attendance, that went from 64,000 to 16, that dropped 16,000, that's like a 4% decrease. So would it be possible to recommend to city council to maybe reduce the budget for these events going forward while this is going on? Because we do have actual city residents. I've actually been able to speak to families that have been affected by this at my job, and it completely devastates the whole family. And so would it be possible to maybe decrease the budget for these events by like 4%? And then that 4% maybe donate it towards, I know that the city has been promoting legal defense funds or organizations that can help out people, because then when that does happen, that they get detained, then it's really expensive to go through that process. So seeing the 4% decrease in participation, I kind of foresee that continuing, because if people are scared to go out, they're going to stay scared. No matter how much we tell people not to be scared, the reality is that they're still going to be scared. We have a lot of families that are of mixed status where the kids are the citizens and the parents are just scared that losing a parent or both parents will completely devastate a family. So if we see that, if we've seen this decrease in participation, it's going to continue. So I don't really see the point in having that full budget amount if we know that this decrease in participation is going to continue.
We can certainly bring that to our budget development, or at least notify the administration. I just want to clarify, we had nearly 80,000 people last year. And so your math still may be correct as far as it being a 4% reduction, but it wasn't 63 minus 16. It was actually almost 80 minus 16, which put us at the 63,000 mark this year for our overall attendance. So you're, like I said, your math may still work out, Vice Chair, but I just wanted to clarify that for the record.
Commissioner Jagwe.
Yeah, first, the event was amazing, and people just being there was so fun, and everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves. At least I'm just watching the patroners and all that seemed great. Going back to the budget, I think if we reduce the budget, it's then later hard to then ask for more. So if we keep the budget the same, we don't have to use all of it. You can just then, if you don't use it, then potentially allocate it to more. But then if we reduce it going forward, it's going to be hard to get it back, to later then go back and ask for more.
That's very true. And again, much to your point, internally, if we were to anticipate a 4% reduction year over year, at least for the next couple of years, we could just hold that money in lieu of, we have $500,000, we're going to spend $500,000, right? And our team, our special events team was very cognizant of this year because we did anticipate a decrease in overall participation. So they found every absolute way to save as much money as they possibly could and not really take us to the terminus of our allotted budget that we were given by the city council this year. We still don't have the numbers because we're still reconciling bills for Fiestas Patrias, but I'd be happy to bring that to the next meeting that I'm with you guys, just to give you an overall impression of what we actually spent on this year's event.
Yeah, and there's enough funding for Fiestas Patrias. There's enough funding for the Legal Defense Fund. It's just the city's priorities. So there's enough funding for all of us. So any additional questions for the Deputy Director? If not, then we'll move on to item 5.
Thank you, everybody.
The Kaboom volunteer opportunity.
Sorry, I totally forgot about that. So yes, we're very excited. We have a Kaboom Build Day at Sandpoint Park that is going to be taking place on October 11th between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. This materialized over the last couple of months. We were approached initially by Cal Poly Pomona and their foundation, and they wanted to see how they could partner with us. And when I brought that forward to Kaboom, because we've worked with Kaboom in the past as far as the representatives, they said they had another funder for us that it would be even quicker than our discussion with Cal Poly Pomona. So we're happy to announce that we're working with Pac Life and First Financial Resources, in addition to Kaboom, to bring a brand new playground to Sandpoint Park. And again, the build day will be October 11th. So I'd like to invite everyone here to come out and participate. If you go on our Instagram or our website, there are registration links that you can find so that you can volunteer as a registered volunteer. And we'd be more than happy to have you participate in building a playground in, I believe it's Ward 4. So happy to answer any questions you may have about that as well. That was just more of an informational nugget for the commission.
You mentioned this is October 11th. At what time?
8 to 5, or roughly 8 to 4. I mean, it's kind of funny because Pac Life has almost indicated that they're going to be bringing 250 volunteers themselves. Yeah, so we're going to have a small army over in Sandpoint. So typically, Kaboom allots for about 7 hours of build time, but with 250 individuals, we could be done in about 34 minutes. So it just depends on how quick the actual project takes. But what's great about it is Kaboom also identifies ancillary projects with the city. So the bathrooms at Sandpoint are going to be completely painted on the exterior, and there is going to be some landscaping that is going to be done as well too. In addition, the overall project, we are bringing up Sandpoint to our park standards, so there will be rubberized surfaces that will be poured there. I think it's currently a wood chip playground, so it will be ADA accessible. We do have an inclusionary element that is part of the playground in its final design. So we're very excited about this opportunity of working with Kaboom, Pac Life, and also First Financial Resources.
This is great. Yeah, you do have it on the social media.
Yeah, and just real quick, commissioners, as we do get the final details like that, I will be sending an email out to all you guys as well as our youth commissioners to see if you guys can come out there and join us for a little bit. So that's one of our goals, to get you guys out there as much as you can, as with any of our events. So be looking on the email coming from myself as well as the youth commissioners to come join us at that one, as well as other ones that we have coming up as well too.
Great. Thank you, Deputy Director.
My pleasure.
Next, I invite Superintendent Jorge Acevedo and Associate Park and Landscape Planner Susie Fergenek to present items 6 through 8, which is the Public Works Agency staff report, the Bristol Recreation Corridor, as well as the Public Arts and Policy draft.
So good evening, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners, Jorge Acevedo, Park Service Superintendent, giving you guys the maintenance portion side of our, the Park Services maintenance side report for the city of Santa Ana. And like always, we're always happy to support our recreation counterpart in, maintenance in the community centers, aquatics, special events, and summer events. So the first slide, really want to highlight, next one. So it's a lot of the work orders that gets done, and this is for the month of July and August, our busiest season. And these work orders, is 784 park-issued work orders. This includes a lot of playground repairs, routine maintenance, irrigation, tree trimming, a lot of service to the community centers, gardens. It's all the apps that come through the My Santa Ana app. So once again, I really like to encourage all the public, the commissioners to continue to submit their work orders through the app as it gets streamlined to our staff, which is, we're definitely keeping busy. And also supporting our counterparts with our special events and aquatics and community centers, like I mentioned before. So outside of just the apps, we also have other, I would say bigger projects that we take on in-house. In these next couple slides, you'll see it's one particular project, but really want to highlight kind of all the trades that we have and the skills that we have internally. So this is the repair of the sewer line. So let me back up. The project is the Santiago Park baseball field restroom. It's been closed for a number of years. We're happy to say we've finally completed it, and it's ready to be open and utilized by the public. So in this slide, you'll see our guys in the trench fixing a collapsed sewer line that was from the restroom out to Valencia. So I think they repaired about 100 feet of failed sewer line, excavated, backfilled it, compacted it, tested it, and it's all good to go. Next slide. So another picture of our in-house staff repairing the roof. They were able to demo the existing roof, keep the sunlight, and then overlay the roof with the rubberized surface roof, and once again done in-house. This is a picture of our team doing an epoxy flooring inside and painting the interior of the restroom. And then finally, the final picture of new DG, so new landscaping, native plants. Not in these slides, but the guys also upgraded the electrical panel, upgraded the lights around the restroom. And yeah, so I encourage everybody to kind of go out there and look at the final product, and then this will be able to support the people using the newly resurfaced tennis courts with the pickleball, and then the baseball players in the little leagues using the new, not using the new field, but using the existing field with the new baseball fence and the new Musco lighting out there. So, as Tim talked about the success of the softball program and the little leagues and the Robert Clemente clinics, this is something we do to support it on the back end. As we renovate our fields, we also laser grade our infields. So this is just a picture of Morrison Park, where we imported 25 tons of infill mix and then laser graded the field and just getting it ready for all the events going on out there. So in this slide, I wanted to take a moment to highlight our line security. This is on the Main Street in collaboration with our quality of life team. They were able to assist a lot of people in their main and also, provide a cleanup and avoid any safety issues for our park patrons. So with that, I want to continue to encourage everybody to continue using the app. It really kind of streamlines all the work orders to our team. And with that, I want to hand it over to my counterpart, Susie Frechette.
Just real quick before you go, George. Guys, I want to highlight what George Acevedo does, and I know you guys don't see much of him, but one of the things I've done as a director is I've challenged him and his team to go out there and do a lot of things in-house. And as they just may have done the restrooms, you guys do get a chance, go out to Lily King, and these guys single-handedly have raised an entire flat field, soccer field, if you want to say that, so you guys know what soccer field is. 3 feet, new irrigation. We just reseeded it, and these guys are loving what they're doing. And with George's leadership and, the backing of us and, Public Works and like that, these guys are doing a lot of things in-house. And what's great about when I go out and I talk to people and I visit people from other cities, they talk about how nice our fields look. They talk about how green ours is. They talk about the infields, like there's no lips. So, and, when we came out with our Santiago Park, and like you guys seen up there, we want to get the restroom fixed. We still do have one small project there is to get the ADA access, but that's something we're going to work on. But going under the bridge, we've added lighting, we've added security like that, and it's all part of what these guys do, is working with Tim and all his guys and Susie his guys. So I just wanted to highlight to you guys that these guys are out there, and it's seen by other cities. And, that's why, to me, we are the leaders in Orange County right now. So, kudos to what you guys do, George, and I just want to highlight what these guys do.
Yeah, and it really, to echo your comments, is a testament to our collaboration and partnership in Public Works and Parks and Recreation.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all again. Let's see. I am going to keep the PowerPoint presentation somewhat concise tonight because we have a few other presentations that we'd like to share with you tonight and spend a little bit more time on. So having said that, what I wanted to highlight here in the PowerPoint are just 4 projects that hit on different major phases. Okay, so design. We recently completed the concept plan for Grisette Park. As you know, it's a 6.5 acre park off of MacArthur Boulevard, southwestern part of the city. It's a community park, and we went through a community outreach process, and when all was said and done, we ended up with this really robust, wonderful plan that would bring so many additional recreation opportunities to the city. We have a regulation-sized soccer field, 2 7v7s. Fields are wrapped with a walking trail that incorporate fitness stations. We have tennis, we have pickleball, we have a playground, we have a basketball court, we have a dog run area, picnic, restroom building, parking lot, lighting. So it would be, this is a really exciting plan. I'm really excited about it. And so the next step would be to look for funding, develop contract documents, and hopefully build. 10th and Flower Park, which we talked about earlier and moved one step closer towards naming, is officially out to bid. We're going to open bids on October the 9th, and we are slated to take it to City Council to award a construction contract on November the 4th. Cypress Fire Station, we recently opened bids. We will be taking it to City Council on November the 21st to award a construction contract. We are anticipating beginning construction in January of 2026. Really excited for this one too. And Santiago Park Phase 2, this is the end, the west end down by Main Street. In its final phase, we are wrapping up literally this week, and we'll be entering a maintenance period, landscape maintenance period. So look for a ribbon cutting for this project sometime within the next few months. Highlight of that project was bringing in a 84-inch box Coast Live oak tree, and what that is a tree that had a base that was 7 foot square. This end of the park just looks so amazing, so if you get a chance, try to go peek through the fence. Okay. Having said all that, well, first, yeah, do you have any questions about anything that I presented?
Do we have any questions from the commission? Commissioner Diaz, and then Vice Chair Zacarias Torres.
Hi, Susie. So the second phase of Santiago, that's the section through Main Street?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, there will be no access to it, right? Don't need to go around and park on the bottom?
Vehicular access, yes, parking will be in the creek.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair?
On the My Santa Ana app, previously, if you submitted anonymously, you would be able to check up on the updates as far as the progress on your submission. And I've noticed that now, ever since it's updated to have the different languages available, if you submit anonymously, you're not able to check up on the status of your submission. I know it's a technical thing, so it might go to someone else, but I just wanted to bring it up because I don't know if anyone else has brought it up, and it would be nice to see the status of your submission, even if you submitted anonymously.
George, did you have any comment on?
I guess I could say we're all experiencing challenges since the new upgrade, the My Civita app. But I know IT is aware of a lot of the issues. It's been, 2-3 months now since we've had the upgrade, and they've promised to do another upgrade in January, hopefully addressing a lot of these issues that we're hearing. So yes, continue to bring them up if you experience them, and we'll forward that to IT, as we too are experiencing a lot of issues.
Superintendent, Susie, great presentation. I don't have any questions, but for the superintendent, I did. The work orders, those are a lot of work orders. And the second, the first one is, I think the numbers are off. Is
Yeah,
it
so
correct?
in line with
Vice Chair
Vice
Zacarias?
Chair Torres mentioned, the first two are citywide. So kind of don't disregard them, but they're citywide. Pay attention to the 784 for the park issues.
I see.
Yeah, so it's as we too continue to work through the little hiccups of the app, we'll fine tune our numbers. But
Yeah,
the first
no.
two are citywide, and then the last one are park issues.
Yeah, this is, thank you for presenting this. I think it's the first time you presented, and what I really liked, well, at least what I see here for the illegal dumping, what is it mostly that you're finding? Like couches, trash, or?
In the parks, it's, a lot of, once in a while you get the mattresses, the couches, but that's mostly on the street side. In the parks, it's bigger, just people just dumping their picnic stuff. They just left it over, their barbecue, because no barbecue.
Got
in
it.
the park,
Just
but
trash.
Trash, yeah.
And
But that doesn't qualify as illegal dumping. That's just trash in the park. Illegal dumping is the bigger stuff.
Okay.
So like I said, I think, excuse me for some of the numbers here. I said, once we iron out more of the details with the app too, we'll fine tune those
The data.
metrics, yeah.
Yeah, and what kind of, maybe we need to, I don't know if they would be helpful to have like neighborhood dump days around the parks?
We're in partnership with the Republic Friends, which are hosting now neighborhood cleanup, and which are quarterly, and we've held some at Memorial Park, at Thornton Park, I think it was a couple months ago, El Salvador Park. So yes, maybe we'll work to kind of advertise it on the Parks and Rec platform, but we are hosting them and allowing the neighborhood to come and dump on a Saturdays mostly.
Yeah, if it's like, dump it here, not at our parks. So just as an idea. And if they're already doing it, then that's great. But that's it. That's all the questions I have. Oh, Commissioner Nelson?
Oh, sorry, yeah. This is probably more for Susie, but I think she might have left, there she. So Santa Anita, we did where is that project at? Is it close to being done?
The latest is we are shooting to have our occupancy, certificate of occupancy, October 31st.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, with that and Crescent Park, that would add quite a few more soccer opportunities, I think. That seems to be a hot topic these days. So, yeah, fantastic.
Vice Chair? And then Commissioner Jogway.
For Grisette, do we have any concepts for public art that came out of the meetings with the community?
We did not, but that's not to say that it doesn't lay forward a canvas or a palette for the future.
Is there a way we could add that to the design concept?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. We could designate an area.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jagwe?
I don't know if this is for George or Susie, but for both of those new parks that were shown, how does the lighting work by the sports field? Is it on timer? Is it just going to be on? And do the groups that use it have to then pay to have it on, or?
So with all our parks, you know, for like park lighting, area lighting, you know, those are on timers. For the majority of them, they are controlled through ControlLink with Musco. All right, for any sports field lightings, they would need to go through our reservations office and, you know, rent out those fields per our city policies and our city approved fees. You know, but what we're doing when we are adding these lightings, we are adding additional security lightings throughout the thing. A good example, if you guys go out to Memorial Park now, when the field lights aren't on, there's a lot of more security line out there so people can walk around the park. So we're trying to light up that. When it comes to adding lights to like the basketball courts, the soccer court, the futsal courts at Delhi, stuff like that, those are all on timers that do go off when the parks close at 10 p.m. So we are always trying to see what we can do. And to what you just said right now, Corey, about adding lights, we did start our projects with Musco for the Centennial Skate Park. So the Centennial Skate Park will have lighting till 10 p.m. now, which will be a huge, because that's our biggest skate park. So we're really excited about that. They've already put in the pillars for that. And if you guys have gone by Angels Park, they have already started to put the lighting in there, which will light up that flat field for soccer or baseball. As well, there will be additional lighting that will help light up the playground, the picnic area, as well as the restrooms. And then our final one that we're doing on, well, there's actually two more. The final one coming like that in this set will be Delhi Park, where we'll be lighting up the two soccer fields, as well as the baseball field, which will open up more opportunities for soccer, baseball to expand our park hours at night out at Delhi. And we do have parking out there. And then our biggest one that will be going to council in October, which we're really, really excited, and it's been a long time coming, is we'll be lighting up Centennial Parks Fields 5 and 6 now with the LED lighting from Musco, as well as lighting up that playground out there at the Centennial Park. And we will have more additional security lighting around the park and around the lake. So a lot of great things coming when it comes to lighting.
Will there be lighting on that new skate park that was made behind the 4th Street? That like, or is that?
So the city owns that property, but it is not the city's, but there is lighting there currently by the owner that has it. Eventually in time, it might turn over to the city, but as right now, it is a third party, but there is lighting.
Got it.
Commissioner Diaz?
First, I want to thank you for everything you do, and for your staff is very helpful when every time I use the app in regards to illegal dumping or graffiti and stuff, they come right away. So I'm very happy to see that our streets are getting cleaned very, very fast. I wanted to ask you a quick question in regards to the Santiago Park restroom. It looks like it's gonna look really nice, but I see that, do they have doors, like the bathroom stalls? Because
It's actually a communal restroom, so it's a men's and a women's. They're going to stay open, so they have their own partitions inside. So it's not like you would say the newer ones with the unisex single stalls. It's a door and it has like 2 toilets, or I think the women's has two toilets with partitions, and the men's has 1 urinal, 1 toilet with a partition.
okay, so the picture that's here, that's not,
That's the restroom.
I think she's asking about whether there's a door.
there's a door like in
In
the
each-
individual.
Inside the
toilets?
partitions.
Inside there?
Inside the restroom. And then the restroom itself has a door.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the question, yes. Does that make sense? So once you go inside the restroom, there's partitions
Yeah,
that
Do the
give you the
stalls have
privacy
doors?
stalls, yeah.
the stalls,
Do the stall have?
Yes,
They
yeah,
have
oh, yeah,
doors.
okay, yes.
Yeah.
No,
Privacy.
I
Like
know
back in the days, they didn't have
Back in
it.
the days,
Uh-huh.
yes, I hear your question, now,
okay,
yes.
so and right now I was looking at the photo and I was like, I don't see
No,
the
no,
door.
I think we're still working on it, yes. Now our partitions have doors
Oh,
to give
okay.
privacy inside. I hear
Thank you
you.
so much, thank you.
Yeah, if I can elaborate on that. So the building back in the day was just open. Georgia seems did add doors on the outside to make sure they did close so people can go in. But also as they go inside the stalls, they can be closed off if people need some privacy to change or anything like that. One of our big things to get that restroom up is because, like George said, we did redo that baseball field. And if you guys have gone out there, the pickleball group and tennis groups that go out there are very big. And people are starting to use that baseball field more to activate it because we did add a fence and it's got a really nice lighting out there now. So again, it was necessary, and then we're also with our lawn bowling, we're going to start activating that more, and there have been more inquiries about renting that space out. So again, it was something we wanted to get done.
Commissioner Nelson?
So regarding the laser leveling, is that something that we started doing in-house?
So that's still part of the infield maintenance contractor.
So the contractors did
That's
that?
still part of the contract, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, as we will.
You oversee it,
In the
but
future, we're starting to transition to bringing stuff in-house. That could be one item, but right now it's still part of the infield maintenance contractor. Yeah, but which we oversee.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Because 25 tons is a lot of infill.
Yeah.
Great. And Santiago Park, that's great to have another park because it's pretty far to walk all the way to the other. But I think we should move on to the Bristol Recreation Corridor Report.
Yeah, so if I can- couple things here before we jump into that. So as you know, we have a couple of informational items that we're going to be getting into the weeds on here in a few minutes. And first, I want to just say that I'm really excited, and I will be inviting these amazing women up that I've had the pleasure to work with on these two projects. We'd like to present, take all of your questions and hear any comments that you have, and our hope is that maybe we can, after tonight, finalize these plans, policies, and bring them back to you next month for review and hopefully adoption. Just a few comments about the Bristol Recreation Corridor. As I mentioned in prior meetings, we've been looking at creative ways to try to add recreation opportunities in open space. In the city, we started to take a closer look at Bristol because it runs through several gap areas identified in the Parks Master Plan. And Jesse Jones with PlaceWorks is going to come up and tell you more about what we've been up to. And then one quick word about the public art and parks policy. As we were developing plans for the Memorial Aquatic Center, questions were being raised about how we were going to address Chicano Gothic. And it brought to the forefront that we didn't have and need a public art and parks policy. So we saw that as an opportunity to start that discussion and begin to take steps towards crafting one. Ms. Alicia Rojas will be up shortly to tell you more about where that has led us. So with that, Ms.
Hi, Commissioners. Thank you so much for having us, for having me here to talk about the Bristol Recreation Corridor. As Susie mentioned, my name is Jessie Jones. I'm a landscape architect with PlaceWorks, and I've been working with Susie and her team on a vision plan for the Bristol Recreation Corridor. So just a little background on it. The Bristol Recreation Corridor is kind of a spinoff from the 2018 Bristol Specific Plan, which you all might be familiar with, which looked at land use all along Bristol. So we're hoping that this Bristol Recreation Corridor vision plan will be a vision for green space in that area and will be adopted as an appendix to that specific plan and kind of go forward as a development tool for guidance along that entire corridor. So I'm going to present the draft plan, which I think you all have in your agenda as a PDF, but if you don't have it, if there's anyone online or in the audience that wants to see it, you can use this QR code to follow along with the draft plan. So to start, just as a little project overview, The project area is on Bristol from Warner Avenue on the south up to Memory Lane in the north, which is just a little north of Santiago Creek, which is a tributary of Santa Ana River. It's a designated truck route for commercial use. Along that corridor, there's commercial and residential. It changes lots of different uses. Along this corridor, there's also a lot of vacant lots, and that presents a great opportunity for new parks. In the specific plan, they identified those vacant lots as opportunities for green space. Here's a visual of kind of what that looks like. Some of you might travel along Bristol with the new bike lanes that are there. There's been a lot of improvements. There's construction happening right there for new bike lanes, as well as the Tolliver Street site. So the idea with the Bristol Recreation Corridor is to look at this entire area, not just the individual sites, and think of it not just as one recreational asset, one single park, but really the entire corridor and how we might think of it as a larger green space that's made up, that's not just the individual parks, but the whole corridor itself. You can go to the next slide. So this is our site opportunities map, looking at that project area that we showed the bird's eye of, and what are our opportunities. Along that corridor, we have different size lots that are the vacant lots of different sizes, as well as some parkways. And so this one looks at where are those opportunities for green space, what was identified in the specific plan, as well as some other opportunities that we looked at as a team. So the darker green are the areas that have the most potential for park space, and then the other green space are other opportunities to kind of infill with smaller parkways or trails. So most of it is down towards the southern end. As you get farther to the north, there's more commercial areas, but there's still opportunity to kind of create a linear park that really ties that entire area together. So again, the goal of the Bristol Recreation Corridor is to not look at the individual sites, but think of this as one big linear opportunity for recreation. So Susie mentioned that this area is in one of the high need areas for parks. We didn't include a picture from the park master plan, but this would really be situated right inside of a high need area. So in order to get kind of a big recreational asset, we're trying to think of this as one big park rather than individual ones. Oh, wait, sorry, one more thing on that one. So another thing I just want to point out is that this does meet a couple of other projects that the city is looking at, including the stormwater master plan. There's a couple sites along this corridor that have been identified for stormwater treatment, opportunities for catchment of diverting stormwater off of Bristol, off of the storm drain, and actually onto vacant lots. So there's a lot of opportunities for doing environmental or ecological services on these sites. So benefits for community and natural resources can change. So what is a recreation corridor? It's kind of a new idea. So a recreation corridor in its basic definition is just a linear park designed for multimodal travel and recreation. And the core kind of component is it really is stretching out recreation along a long area. There's two example projects here that are described a little bit more in the actual document, but I'll talk about them quickly. On the outer sides of the pictures, this is Willenden Linear Park in Canada. It's very, very similar to Bristol in that it follows along a pretty active street. The way that they make connection is through a linear public art piece. It's not the exact same art piece, but it uses same color and texture, this idea of a wave to follow the entire corridor. So as people travel, they know they are in the same space because of that connective piece. So that's one of the ways that we can think about how we can create connection along the corridor. A little closer to us in Linwood, this is Ricardo Lara Park that follows along the freeway. It was a bit of leftover space during the freeway expansion. And so what we can learn from this one is really about the narrowness of a park. You can still get a lot of recreational value, even if you don't have a lot of space across the park. You can create recreational value by stretching things along a corridor and creating lots of opportunities to make the space feel more expansive. You can go to the next slide. So some of the benefits that you see from doing this rather than kind of creating one single park is that you can really bring a lot of active recreation into an area similar to a park. You're increasing activity that would happen there. You're bringing users to the park. You're bringing people there to do recreation, creating connectivity between separate spaces, which expands the opportunity. And again, it's bringing parkland to an area of the city that doesn't currently have enough parkland. It also creates an opportunity for people to connect with nature and also some of those ecological services that we talked about. So one of the key things to think about on Bristol for this recreation corridor is how we might create continuity between these different sites. And so some of the things that we've been talking about and creating kind of templates for are thinking about how the planting can be consistent across the entire corridor. There's really great shade trees already on Bristol, and that's really critical because we really want to make sure that this area stays shaded into the future if we want people to use it. But also thinking about how can we add more green space and then create some more space for different types of planting, but also keep it consistent so people know they're sort of in that same corridor across the entire length. Keeping the furniture and the materials the same. That can be color, texture, kind of the way we're using materials, keeping them consistent so it feels like one big park rather than lots of separate parks. Doing thematic elements that tie it together. You saw that example from Willenden Park where they were using the blue wave, thinking of what that theme will be, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more. And public art, thinking of public art as the way of tying that thematic element together. Next slide. So some of the goals of the project of this vision plan is to think about how we can have this corridor become a benefit for both community wellness and environmental resilience. In the draft plan, you'll see how this project kind of meets some of the goals the city has already established, particularly related to park equity, and that this would really bring a new recreational asset to this part of Santa Ana. Also, this ties into the city's Safe Routes to Schools and Safe Routes to Parks programs. There's a lot of schools right along that corridor. In that initial picture, I didn't highlight it, but there's a lot of schools just off of Bristol that could connect to Bristol. Also, the OC Connect streetcar is going to cross on Bristol. There's a stop just to the west of Bristol that could also create a cross between the linear parkway that's going to be with the OC Connect. And also, there's just an opportunity kind of to spread the park assets throughout the city. There's a lot of opportunity for improving environmental resilience for the neighborhood. I specifically talked about the shade and the opportunities to cool the area down. Adding trees and green space here is a great way to do that. Also to improve air quality. I mentioned that it was identified in the stormwater management plan, but all of the sites have really been studied to see how we might be able to catch more water on site to clean not just the site itself, but actually divert water from the storm drain system. And also something really special about linear parks is that they help urban wildlife move through the city. So it's not just for people to move through, but also urban habitat for insects and birds to kind of move along the corridor. Next slide. So we are talking to you tonight about this, but we've also been talking to the community about this corridor for quite a while, since about 2023. As you all know, the Tolliver site is in construction. So that's kind of the first project that's moving forward on the Bristol Recreation Corridor. Part of the idea behind this was to back up from Tolliver and think about how it will fit into this larger network. So in the conversation around Tolliver, we also started polling the community about the corridor itself. So we did a couple of workshops to inform people, what is a recreation corridor? What do you think about it? What are your concerns about using a park like this? What are your recommendations for making it unique and special? We did some charrettes with students from the KidWorks Youth Leadership Group, where they were able to design parks and think about the corridor and tell us what they would think. They also gave us some really good ideas for themes. We also worked with the Parent Advisory Council from KidWorks. KidWorks is just off of Bristol, kind of in the area. They also gave us a lot of thoughts about what they would be concerned about, how they would use the park. And we also did an online survey to ask people what they'd want to see in the individual parks. Next slide. So here's just a snapshot of some of the things that we heard. We did all of the engagement in both English and Spanish, so it's going to be in 2 languages. But a big thing that we heard were some concerns about safety. People are worried about vehicular safety. They're going to be on a busy street. How do they keep themselves safe in the park? But also, how do they keep themselves safe if people are there that are not using the park in a great way? So advice that we got was try and make the place as active as possible. They want to make sure that there's a lot of opportunity for activation. The Parks Department is doing a lot of mobile programming and making sure that there's space for that. Also being realistic about having a park right very close to a roadway and putting fencing where it's appropriate. They also talked about parking. This would be a neighborhood park, so there wouldn't be parking for these individual parks. As this project moves forward, that's something to think about, particularly ADA parking and making sure that the sites are accessible. The other thing that we heard that was really got a lot of people enthusiastic was this idea of theming the park. The theme that really came forward and a lot of people got excited about is an idea of migration and movement. This is a linear park, so moving through the park is a kind of an experience you can have, but also kind of connected to the Santa Ana story, where there are a lot of immigrant families here, thinking of it as migration and the image of a monarch butterfly being something that came to the front. Get some water while you. So next slide. So as we developed the plan, there's some essential elements that kind of came out that we want to make sure happen at each of the opportunity sites. One is that the park itself really needs to focus on multimodal movement. There's the bike lane that's on Bristol. How do we continue that and allow for pedestrians to move through the parks, and also skateboards, scooters, lots of other, like, people should really be able to move through this whole site very easily. Movement and migration as a theme that I was just highlighting that the community was really emphasizing as something they're interested in, using that as an emphasis for public art. Active recreation and play being critical. People really see the best way to keep the site safe is that people are using it a lot, so they want active recreation there, not as much passive. Making sure that we're planting climate-appropriate plants, that those trees stay great resources, that they are shade being a major asset for the project. Stormwater management will be integrated into all of the projects. Wasn't something so much that we talked about with the community as much as it is a really great opportunity to use these sites for that. Seating and gathering, tying to the idea of using these places as community gathering places to really bring people there, and then always thinking about safety and security as we think about the sites. So tonight we have kind of two different approaches for how we might, how this might look on Bristol, and what we'd like to talk to you tonight and get your feedback on is kind of how we might move these forward in the draft plan and direction that you might have about how we might pursue developing this into a future concept. So the first one is what we're calling a park magnet approach. So the idea with this is that the way the sites would be developed is that you first focus on those big vacant lots and you create big destination parks, and then you start filling in the space in between. This kind of template focuses on creating a big destination playground that focuses on the monarch butterfly, very visual, big impact with public art, big shade structures that are iconic. In this example, we would use flowers to really emphasize the theme, and that the park itself is a big draw. When people drive by Bristol, they can see it. And then from that, you start to kind of fill in the space in between. So the colors of the park kind of fill in the corridor. And so the idea here is that people notice all the parks, and then they start seeing how you flow to the park. So all of the trails and things kind of bring you into that park, but the sites and the parks themselves are what's kind of popping, and people kind of remember them. In this example, the monarch butterfly color palette is really what's dominant. The public art is focused on that. There's space for murals in the back, and the play areas and courts are large and kind of dominating the space. Next slide. In the second alternative, it's thinking more about the trail first, thinking about that the connection piece is really what we should be focusing on initially. I'm going to talk in a little bit about funding, but that's one of the reasons why we're separating these out, how we think about funding these projects. But in this option, really thinking about how we can use the entire corridor a bit more. Up in the upper part of this image, you see the cul-de-sac activation. That's something that people were enthusiastic about, and something that we could work with the Parks Department to think their mobile programming that comes into the neighborhood. They could use these cul-de-sacs to really expand the park area. So even if the park doesn't exist yet and the trail's all that's there, those cul-de-sacs could really still be used for mobile programming, to bring in programming to the neighborhood. In this option also, there's fitness areas along the entire corridor, not just at the parks. And then in the parks themselves, there's more dispersed uses, and some of those uses are focused more on linear experiences, like a skate park it's longer and linear, and the walkways are kind of focusing more on movement and mobility rather than destination. Next slide. So to kind of wrap up, looking ahead, this is a very linear way of thinking about this, that we would just have this idea and then go do it. So this is a very long-term idea. The reason why we think it's really valuable and why Susie's team is working on it is because it really creates a template for how to bring this into happening, how to make this happen. There's funding available through grants and things, especially with community support. And so thinking about having a vision for this project is really just thinking about how you then want to get there. Is it that you want to start thinking about how to make this connective piece, and you start working on grants to think about the connection, or do you start fundraising around each individual park and getting community support for that and thinking kind of how that would be implemented? There are there are grants out there for this type of project, specifically for parks in underserved communities, places that need parks. Also, there are special grants that are for art in parks. California State Parks has a new Arts and Parks program specifically for municipal park art programs. So that could be a great opportunity to think about how you might fund this. Again, this is a very long-term goal, but this is kind of the initial step of creating the vision and then filling in how it works. There's no detailed design as part of this project. It's all kind of a template with an idea. So that would be kind of the next phase, thinking about what are the priorities of the commission, of the department, and how then what's the next thing to design. An important part of this is going to be the maintenance and programming plan. The community really wants program at the park. They want to make sure there's maintenance. So that's kind of thinking through how does this park facilitate future programming, and then really continuing the community outreach. During this process, we did apply for, or the city applied for an urban greening grant, and those folks at KidWorks helped us get 70 handwritten letters of support, which is a huge number. We sent those in with the urban greening grant to show that the community would like this project. That grant did not, they didn't continue the grant. It wasn't that we didn't succeed, it just didn't continue. But having those conversations really helps your grant applications and also helps that the park get activated in the future. Next slide. So thank you so much for your time. What we'd really love to hear from you all is about how we might draft this plan. This is a draft plan, we're still working on it. How you might think about should the priorities be and how we might put that into the plan. Do we want to think about, is it the linear focus that you think would be a priority? How do you think about which types of things should go in and your kind of guidance around that, as well as any other comments that you have?
Great. Thank you so much for, can you share your name one more time?
Oh, Jesse.
Jesse, thank you so much, Jesse, for the hard work and presentation. Do we have comments? Vice Chair Zacarias Torres and then Commissioner Nelson?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the presentation. Would it be possible to do like a mix of both design concepts to add the first theme of migration and also incorporate like the equipment and the mobility aspect of the second park? And I especially like the ideas of along the thinner sections, having like workout stations, because we are trying to get people to be more active in the city. So that would be good to have along the trails and also have like the mobility aspect of it. But have we tested the soil for lead? Because I do know that a lot of our city soil has lead. So it's kind of a concern if we have kids playing all over the soil that we have. And if we do have high levels of lead, if we could also incorporate maybe some plants that can help with that, such as sunflowers. So that would also be a good theme to take throughout the whole trail as well, incorporating the environmental justice aspect to the theme. Thank you.
I will field that a little bit, and Susie, jump in if you have other answers. So yes, the alternatives are kind of just initial approaches, and usually when we do alternatives, the preferred comes up some combination of the two. So that's great to hear like which pieces resonate with you so that there can be a preferred. The question about the soil testing, so for this project, no. Luckily, Tolliver is kind of moving, it's underway, so there's sort of a case study. That project did have soil testing ahead of time, and so that would be the kind of the model that like anything that goes into construction that would be like part of the design and construction phase of it would be a soil testing component. So that would be kind of in a different phase, but if there was a major problem with lead and there was a need for abatement and some, that would sort of just need to get folded in. But yeah, it wasn't done as part of this project.
Could we also incorporate like a water aspect? There was an example I saw that made it look more like a wetland section. If we could have that and incorporate like just the water, so we could have all different elements incorporated.
Yeah, I think that one of the essential elements that we're calling it is the stormwater capture piece, and the visibility of that I think could be, could could be at varying amounts. I think that like a water feature would be something that would be like through the city's like splash pad plan. But I think that how the stormwater capture area looks and like how much it tells the story of stormwater would definitely be something that should be at the forefront. And I think Tolliver is also doing a good job of that with their underground field. And so that interpretive element is at the forefront. I should also mention that because Tolliver is underway, part of this project did look at what they are already doing and think about what pieces of that then spreads through the entire corridor, because that project is already happening. So it's not like we're trying to say, oh, let's like rethink this whole thing, but let's think about what's there, and then how do we stretch it, and how do we make a connective thing, so what's happening there can be supported by these other pieces. So if there's already a basketball court there, do we need another basketball court on the next one? Maybe we think about stretching this so that it feels like one park that just happens to be in two places.
Commissioner Nelson?
Yeah, I mean, the concept's fantastic. I think 15 or 20 years ago, when they did the Bristol widening from Edinger to First, they kind of attempted this, but it never became linear. It just was individual, lots of shrubbery that became inundated with the bad, not the good. So I love the idea of being able to make this kind of move up and down Bristol. But my question is if it's a pedestrian, foot traffic type thing, is there any way to, like, over major intersections to have some overpasses or something that would be a little bit easier to really make that transition of going up and down Bristol better, safer, and also, I think, aesthetically kind of pleasing, kind of, when you go to Disneyland, you get up above and you see, oh, look at, it provides another layer that's elevated versus just linear, right? And, the stormwater, the areas that we do have stormwater capture areas on Bristol, they do look great and they function well, but they also become kind of a barrier for traffic. I mean, if somebody does happen to, I've seen a few cars that they end up in there and they don't get to go much further than that, right? So it's kind of a safety, element that I think that gives you a buffer, and also is, the water feature, this is really exciting. Do we have an idea of roughly what kind of acreage we would be able to gain as far as park space is concerned?
Can you remind me how big is Tolliver? So it would essentially be like 6 times Tolliver. So like that's kind of, if you think about how much vacant lot, how many of the vacant lots could be converted plus then the parkways. So just, sorry to put you on the spot to remember that. That's a really good thing that we should include in the draft plan, and I think it's valuable as something we should like in the plan with, of how much acreage there could be. But if you kind of add up the space, it's essentially like 6 times the
So
Tolliver
8
size.
to 10 acres, give or take, and then.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, spread across them separately, but then also that parkway space in between. So it's kind of different types of space, but collectively, yeah.
So there's in that area between Edinger and First, there's a pretty large parking lot. What does that parking lot feed, or what is that, do we have, is that going to be part of this plan? Or is this a parking lot that's required to be there?
Do you want me to take a stab at it, or you want to answer?
You're talking about where Friday Night Munchies is?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Jesse, and then I will.
Yeah, so it is included in the project, and it's one of the sites that's identified as an opportunity site. I think right now it's serving as parking for the high school across the street, but it is a city-owned parking lot. And so that is one of the, or not currently city-owned. Not currently city-owned, sorry. So it is. Sorry, I'm gonna let Susie jump in. It is in the project, it's in the project area. We've looked at some conceptual plans for what could fit there. It's a lot thinner than the other sites, but it is included as an opportunity site in this project. And then Susie, feel free to jump in. Sorry about that.
We do have a plan in the works for that area right now. There was, I believe, $200,000, $250,000 identified for that lot. It was being managed by the Community Development Agency, and they've since turned it over to Parks and Rec to Friday Night Munchies is going to continue because it's so popular, but we are looking at how we can kind of reconfigure that site on a shoestring to bring in recreation. So parking is going to be reconfigured, there will be some gates. Friday, the food trucks are going to be sort of shifted to one area, so the other area can be opened up for mobile recreation units. There will be some seating areas and lights, festival lighting brought in. So it's a first little baby step towards turning it into an outdoor area. But there is a longer, long-range plan that we're speaking to in the vision plan that will take it 1, 2, 3 steps farther. Does that answer?
Yeah, no, that's perfect, thank you. It's exciting. I mean, this is, conceptually speaking, this is probably what we needed. Every city needs to have something like this because it's there's so much wasted space just along corridors. I mean, you see a lot of, sidewalks, but there's no activity, right? So this, I think, can really bring the community together. So thank you.
Commissioner Diaz?
Hello, thank you for giving us this amazing PowerPoint. Everything looks lovely, amazing. But perhaps maybe since I'm sitting on Peñalosa's desk, I'm gonna say, is it gonna be diaper to diaper? So which means you talked about, it's a long term. How long of a term? Is it divided into phases? I see it starts on Memory Lane. Do we start on Memory Lane? Where does it go all the way up to? Second, you mentioned grants, so it kind of sounds to me as to this is great, amazing, but not yet funded. So I'm kind of trying to piece everything together because on paper and pictures, amazing. So my question would be, is it going to be divided in phases? And where are we going to start? Is it going to be in the middle or just random, or can you explain that?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. That is the question that I also have for you all and helping us to think about how we might want to think about putting that phasing into this plan. One of the things that we have kind of been talking about internally is like, is this long-term cost? And so the community, when we've talked to them, there are amenities that they're interested in. And so from you all, one of the things, your collective work in Parks and Recreation, I think it would be great to hear from you all if you have suggestions for us to think on about phasing in terms of how you all would want to see this prioritized. It's something we can talk to the community about first. I mean, in reality, it's going to be tied to opportunity. If a grant for a certain type of thing comes up, that probably means it's going to be prioritized. Like, for example, urban greening grants were more readily available, so the Tolliver site with the potential for stormwater, it became more desirable to implement. So in reality, it's going to be kind of tied to that, but something that would be really great in the plan to include is phasing, and that's something we'd like to talk about, is like, how do you want to start this project? What do you focus on? And that one of the reasons we're here tonight is also to see if you have thoughts on that and if you have suggestions. Not that you need to tell us exactly which project to do when, but if you have suggestions about how to think about that and how to frame it, or how you would like us to ask it in a different way. Susie said we would come back with the final plan, and then we can try and answer that question a bit more. But if you have thoughts around that, that's something in particular we were hoping to talk to you all about with your suggestions. Sorry to turn it around on you.
That's okay. So I hear that you think it's easier or faster or more accessible to start by getting grants through the greening project. Since you're the expert, perhaps you start and then you come back to us, and that's just my suggestion, okay? We can change. Because even if we come and tell you, I would like you to start closer to my area, because I live there and I would like my area to look better. But if the funding comes first through the greening, if that's how you call it, the greening project, where you saved the water and that. So I would suggest that we would start where you get the funding, because even if we start suggesting this is where we want it, but if we don't have the funding for that, I don't want to miss out on this other funding that you already have available. I mean, you're the expert to me, you come, you tell us, and I'll back you up. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel the same way. I've been disappointed before when a project, they say they're going to start there, and then in reality, there's a grant, we'll get monies for there. So whatever you see, it's a grant, and the easiest to see, we could have a open house on, and the project started as quickly as possible, and we see some of the results, that would really make us very happy. So I'm agreeing with that, if we can do that.
If I could make a couple of comments here, thank you for asking the question. One of the things that would really help is your support. We really need your support, not only for advancing this plan, but for going after grants. Those are, we don't always have the ability to decide how we want to move forward with something. We can make suggestions, but we really need help, your support with not only advancing this plan, but going after the grant funding and dedicating, creating that savings account. When we bring in residential development fees, acquisition and development funds, we should be earmarking them. We should be more disciplined about how we spend those funds, because they really should be utilized for new recreation opportunities. If we can be more disciplined about that, if we could get your support in helping the city to be more disciplined about that, we would have the funding available to leverage for these grant applications. So as much as, trust me, we want to make this happen tomorrow. But it's a collective effort of support. So just, if we could help us to help you.
Of course, we'll always advocate for more funding, Susie, and hoping the city keeps the money and not returns it. Yeah. Commissioner Nelson and then Commissioner Jogway.
So, Susie, if I hear you correctly, so you're saying if we have a nest egg of funds that's there, if we go after a grant, then we need to have some funds to be able to help facilitate that. That could push the grant process ahead?
Yes, that could push the grant process ahead, but we conceptually need everyone to be behind this plan. We can't always on our own decide we're going to go after this project. There may be some, not everybody feels that this is a great move or a great vision. What would really be helpful is for the city as a whole to be on board with this and love it and see the potential and the benefits that could come from something like this.
I fully understand. It's 10 acres of parkland that we really don't have, that we can get. And whether we start at one end or the other or in the middle or wherever, I think we need to figure out how to make it happen. And if we have a concept of it being something that's flowing throughout the city, whether it takes 8 or 9 years, who cares? Let's get more parks going. I think that's the overall, I think we need to look at it from a city.
We can, as professionals, make recommendations and come up with a phasing plan, but ultimately, what would really be helpful is having your support, council support, the communities, of course, the community, we've already involved them, but beyond that, commission support, council support, that's what would really help.
I think where you're going to have pushback is probably going to be the community, because I think when they did the Bristol widening and all of that and the different phases and how it was so segmented and based on funding and this and that, traffic was horrendous. It took forever, and everybody was unhappy, every neighborhood association, it was just a mess, right? But this being that it's not really affecting traffic, it's stuff that's kind of off, there will be some element, but it won't be as bad as like
Yes.
the widening and
One key difference is right-of-way acquisition. that is one of the things that really caused the Bristol widening to go on and on and on. It's a very involved, lengthy legal process. And that's really behind why it's been a, diapers to diapers thing. This could potentially, I don't want to say it's easy, nothing really is. But there aren't as many, the canvas is set, right now. The parameters are set. Most of this land is now city-owned, so we have.
The acquisition's been done, then,
The
basically.
acquisition's
Okay.
been done. And, a lot of these exercises identified in here don't really necessarily have to be expensive. Having said all that, what really will help advance this quickly is to have full support. And, we've been talking with the community. That's certainly, a big part of it. But commission and council support, we absolutely need.
Great. Commissioner Jogway?
Yeah, few comments, an idea, and a question. So first, I love the idea. I think it's super creative. And I would like the mile markers on either plan. I think it's cool and it incentivizes people to kind of go through the whole corridor and stay active. I went to this apartment community in Mexico City. It was called Quetzalcoatl's Nest, and it was basically all based on this like Mayan snake, and it kind of took you through the whole thing. And they had like tours, they had like informational things on different parts of the whole community, and it really incentivized people to go check out the whole place. So if it's about mobility or movement, maybe we can have different things on the city or ideas that incentivize people to go check out the whole thing. I think that was something you had maybe already thought about, but that was an idea. Since you're talking about grants, how many on your team are doing that, doing the grant writing?
So we have, it's a collective. We all get involved. And we have several consultants that we reach out to on occasion to help us. And we've, over the past 3.5 years, we've been pretty successful at taking advantage, going after every opportunity. I want to say, every opportunity that we had a real, that we really connected with the mission and goals of the program. We hit on everyone. So the team is there. I mean, we will make it happen. It's, yeah, just,
So a mix of in-house and consultants?
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And the last thing, what can you define what you mean by our full support? Like, what does that entail for you?
Yeah, ultimately, yeah, a vote, endorsing the vision, and then pushing us to do it. But also maybe educating, maybe you can get the word out to, other elected officials or members of the community as to why this would really be a benefit and why it is important. And if there are reservations, let's talk them through rather than disregard and put up barriers.
Is this solely
Susie.
funded by grants or also by the city?
it can be funded by anything. Our park system has relied heavily on grants, just historically. The city has a lot of obligations and needs, so we have relied very much on grants and the development impact fees that we collect.
At times, grants are sent in and they're designated for something other than what the grant was meant to support. Are there specific grants just for the projects that you want to
Yes,
cover?
yes.
Yeah, because sometimes the money goes somewhere else versus what it was intended for.
No, the grant programs that we go after are very specific about what they'd like to see, and they're very, they're detailed. We have to speak very specifically about what amenities we're going to be including, what the costs for those amenities are going to be, and then we're held to it. We say we're going to build a basketball court. They're going to come out and want to take a picture of that basketball court when it's done.
And I'll come back. Great question, commissioners. Susie, I really like the idea of, in terms of the different options that you had presented to us. I really like the questioning that Commissioner Gonzalez was talking about in relationship to the grants. So maybe a next step can identify or bring forward those grants with timelines that if the council were to look at, these are the specific, if we need to do increments, this is what we see. In the terms of the pictures, I really like, there was like little tents or maybe a little farmer's market. I really like the idea of activating those cul-de-sacs. At the south end, the Friday Munchies event, I know it's very popular. So maybe that can be a focal point of, where am I going to park if I'm coming from the west end to be able to access this? So I'm also thinking about that parking and where to start. This snake idea of going up and down, maybe how does it relate to programming that we are already doing? We do Fun Run. Maybe Fun Run is along, I know maybe closing down Bristol is too much, but if Bristol is closed down for Fun Run around, there's this whole side activity that we're kind of activating. You mentioned stormwater management. I know that those are grants that we have applied for, so I would encourage an environmental perspective to how we're activating these spaces, particularly around shade, identifying how many, I believe I see a lot of palm trees maybe out there. And so, they're, where, we're short trees, and so being able to activate, I did see some lilies or flowers as shade structures, but maybe actual, plants as for shade. The art in the park, those are great opportunities from the state that we can apply to, hopefully keep those funds to use, for public art as it relates to these focal points that folks can travel to and kind of activate. So I'm thinking about how do we activate this activity? Is there fear of selling off these properties if we don't take action, how long before we don't take action that these become just empty lots? Or what would be that process? I mean, I hope we keep these spaces public.
So for example, there's a cluster of parcels at Pine Avenue. It's kind of a little bit more towards the north. It's north of McFadden, it's north of Tolliver, it's north of Myrtle. The way that it works, if I could try to simplify it, when those properties were acquired to widen Bristol, there was a grant measure, there were, there was funding given to us through OCTA to purchase the properties to widen the street. If there are remnant parcels, in theory, we are supposed to sell those properties off and return the money to OCTA. So we don't, we buy the properties, but they're not completely ours. However, there were some properties through the Bristol specific plan and through the general plan when it was updated that were rezoned to open space. And I don't really understand all the legalities of it. So I don't want to say anything that's misleading, only that the properties that are currently zoned open space, I don't see those as being in danger of losing. But the properties that I mentioned up by Pine, they're currently not zoned open space. So there is a there is a want to sell it off for commercial property. So there would have to be some discussions internally to figure out a work around that. How do we rezone it so that we could, add it to our open space inventory along the corridor? So
some general plan updates.
yeah.
Great, yeah, so I think prioritizing the funding opportunities that we have now, going in increments, and my priority would be environmental issues as it relates to some of the storm water capture, some of the trees, but also public art, incorporating that as a means of overlapping public art with our already programs that we already have to activate Bristol. Commissioner Diaz?
So at the moment, we have no funding. Or do we have funding?
We have no funding.
Okay, then let's start from there. Then we add the flowers, then we add the art. But right now, the most important thing is that if I hear correctly, if not, please, help me put it together. What you want from us is for us to vote on giving you like a yes on go out there and look for opportunities, look for grants, and whatever grant you come available, first, let's say comes the stormwater management and there's an area where it could be placed, then you'll come back and say, I got this grant, it's being approved, let's work on this. So right now, what you would like, which I don't know how to put together, but I would like to motion, or, we don't motion, or what do we do?
No, like I said, we're always looking for grants. Our
Okay.
teams are always, Susie's teams, my team, we're always looking for grants. I said, what we're doing, we're always looking for opportunities. So anytime we find, what Susie's team does, and she's got a lot of these things, we have a lot of shelf-ready projects and it comes to where we don't have the funding. So we're looking for grants, A&D funding, cannabis funding, sponsorships, ships like that. So I think our biggest thing with you guys is, advocate with our elected officials to help push to find us more fundings. On our end of looking for funding, we're always looking for grants. We're always looking for opportunities. And Tim can, say to that, that's what we do. So we always find stuff like that.
So how do we help her help the community? Like,
It's just putting the word out, like what we do, but again, advocating with the ones y'all are assigned to elected officials, and of course, our seniors reach out to our elected officials to, help keep pushing that brand, keep pushing those opportunities, to keep, look at, as Chair Herrera says, to get more funding for parks to do these things. And anytime we do get more development and we get those A&D fundings, we look to where we can, shift some toward what she's doing. So it's not really much a vote. We know you guys are all on board. We all know we want more parks. We all know we want to, enhance our parks, but also at the same time, and it's something I'm real big on, is also take care of the 45 parks we have, to make sure they're up to date, up to standards like that. So it's a big old thing, as well as creating more opportunities. So our biggest thing here is, yes, we know we have your support. I know that. We all know that. It's just getting the buy-in from, elected officials, community, which you guys help advocate for.
okay.
And yeah, this was put on the agenda as an informational item only, and
Yes.
then they were planned to bring it back to the October meetings to make a motion to adopt it once it's more finalized with your input.
Okay,
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All starts with a plan is kind of,
A few more comments, and then we'll move on to the next item. Vice Chair Zacarias Torres, and then Commissioner Nelson.
If you're asking us, like, on our opinion of which sections of the corridor to begin, I think it would be a good idea to look into the surrounding areas around the schools. I often see a lot of, like, moms with the kids that are waiting near the schools for their kids to leave school to pick them up. Or after they leave school, they could go to the nearest park area that's along the corridor near the school so that kids could play for a little bit. They could snack or whatever. So I think it would be a good idea to maybe start doing installations around the schools, or maybe begin activating areas around the schools around the corridor. Thank you.
Commissioner Nelson? Okay. Great. Commissioner Wu?
Oh, there was one thing I wanted to discuss. I had, city staff was talking about the budget, and I wanted to talk about the budget, and maybe at that time, as a support, we could find out exactly what the park and rec, hockey you would need for monies. And also, you talked about the development fees, like from the village, that they would appropriate monies for that. And that's one of our recommendations that we can give as a support in this budget study. So can we do a budget study at the next meeting for these, some of the fees?
Yeah,
Or how does that, so we can do some recommendations?
Yeah, absolutely. As we move forward into budget, first we'll come to mid-year, and then we'll start looking into our, to our main budget. But yeah, those two you just talked about, the Seagerstom and the Bristol, those are two monster projects. They're going to have a lot of community funding, to do just stuff like this, to do other things like that. So those are recommendations that could come from you guys to our council members, as well as the support of our community to, go at projects like these, to go at shelf-ready projects we do have in Parks and Recreation, because there are quite a few out there.
Okay, that's what my recommendation for our support.
Great. Is that enough feedback to come back? Great. Yeah, we want more green spaces. Help us find the money. Great. Okay, thank you. I believe the next discussion that we'll have is public art and parks policy.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alicia Rojas. I'm a local artist. I know some of you throughout our advocacy in the last decade. Ruby was a major part of restoring La Raza mural. So I believe Commissioner Wu understands very closely about the policy. And I did meet and get some feedback from some of you. So I'm very happy to be here to meet the rest of you. So today is an informational moment for us to come back in October and hopefully pass this policy. So I want to start first with saying this will be a historic moment. This is the beginning of a historic moment for the city of Santa Ana. The city of Santa Ana has never had a public art policy. Throughout my last decade as a public artist, as a muralist, we have encountered many challenges. But we have also encountered many success stories through community input, through community advocacy, through community engagement. And as Susie mentioned, and I want to thank Susie and Tim for their vision and bringing this together and their trust in me, and also to Director Hawk for understanding and meeting this important moment and historic moment. And I continue to say this. So I'd like to pull one picture before we get into the actual policy. So we know we're here because of the opportunities and the conversations that surrounded Chicano Gothic. This is Emigdio Vasquez. This is an article from 1987. The wall and the mural is 38 years old. It's located at Memorial Park. And I am so excited to tell you that obviously the mural is being conserved, is being preserved, and it will be a major part of this beautification of this park. It's going to be just fantastic. We're adding an educational component to all of the murals and art in our parks. So I just want to pay a little homage to Emigdio and that this policy is in his name and also in the name of Sergio Cadiz, who are here with us today in this chambers, I think. Okay, so a little bit of why we need a public art and preservation policy. We first started to focus on maintenance, right? So I did get to meet with Mr. Jorge Acevedo, had many meetings. This has been a work of about 8 to 9 months. I would say it's a 15-year advocacy work, though. So we've been engaging with many different community members, commissioners from the Art and Culture Department staff, policy writers, and myself, who put this policy together and the framework together. So a little bit of the overview here is, our objectives is to first think of Santa Ana as an open museum, I would say, right? This is an opportunity not only to enhance the public art that we have, but to preserve it, to maintain it, and to create more pride and create community development also in a way to create more funding, right? Through tours and tourism, books, you name it. Public art is something that's very important to our community, especially now, I would say. It preserves and tells stories that have been untold. It talks about histories that sometimes have been uncomfortable. And I think as we continue to hear what public art means in our country, I feel really proud of Santa Ana and what community and artists have been able to do here without a lot of support, right? Without a lot of structure. So here you will be the first commission to make history. And I can't stress that enough because it's been a very difficult and long road here. But I think this speaks highly on park staff and the direction that they've been going in the last couple of years. So kudos to all of them. So of course, the policy has, your basic objective, your public art and acquisition and installation, how we're going to be focusing on selecting new artists. Of course, we are focusing on maintaining a preference to local artists, but we're not closing it to just local artists. But we want to make sure that any outside artist has a connection to the city, understands, and has the time to do community engagement, right? But we also want to focus on uplifting and funding our public money to our local artists. We are creating a maintenance and preservation that I talked in detail with Jorge, since his team will be in charge of this, and the funding. Right now, I am very happy to share a little bit that the city manager's office is currently working on exploring all the avenues of creating a public fund, focusing on preservation and maintenance at first, and then hopefully an acquisition of new art. But we have to first start with honoring what we have and keeping it and maintaining it and allowing people to know what they're looking at, which we'll do that in a little bit. We also have what placemaking means in new park development. So I love all the conversations about public art. Thank you to Vice Chair Zacaria Torres for mentioning in Grisette an opportunity for public art. So that is your role. Also to think of any time there's a park opening, to also think about, is there an opportunity for public art? Like the previous speaker mentioned, now California has a grant that's annual for public art in parks. It's about $2.8 million, and I think we'd be a very deserving city. So passing this policy tells grant writers and grant funders out there that we take art seriously and that we have an infrastructure on how to take care of it moving forward, which I think is crucial. The rights and responsibilities. So that's also very important into, the misunderstandings that might have happened around Chicano Gothic and how we should address things moving forward, right? Especially if we have a mural that's 38 years old by, Emilio Vasquez, which is considered the Chicano godfather of art. Chicano Gothic was included in the Getty Pacific Standard Time exhibition that was mobile, so was Sergio Cadiz. I think that's important to mention and remember that we're sitting with cultural landmarks. When some of these murals turn to be 50 years old, if we have been able to maintain them, then the city can apply for different grant funding, for cultural landmark funding through the state and federal. So we want to make sure that we preserve and are able to apply for those grants moving forward, right? And keeping these histories alive. We're talking about funding and budgeting, and many ideas have come through this conversation. And the goal and the hope is that Parks will have its own policy to take care of the art. We have identified an inventory of 27 pieces of art in the parks, which includes murals, sculptures, fitness courts, some signs that we would consider public art, like Cesar Chavez in Campesino Park, like Chepa's sign, like also the Pacific Park. There's a little concrete rail. So all of that would be considered part of this maintenance. Also, making sure that if it gets vandalized or how we repair it, how do we address repair it, who do we call, what is the protocol? So, in the next 30 days, take your time to go over the policy. I know I've shared some framework with some of you, but, send any questions that you might have to make this policy stronger, or any things that you need to ask to Susie or myself, and I'll be glad to bring it back in October with any of those edits or additions. In conclusion, there's different roles and responsibilities this policy will take, but the hope is that the policy is an inspiration and the seed that will then be moved to the Arts and Culture Department after it is passed in here, and then it will move to City Council for an efficient adaptation as a citywide policy. But we're starting with parks because that's where most of our public art is. In conclusion, I want to show you the next step and why we're adapting also this policy, so if you don't mind sharing. So what we're also going to be doing in those 27 sites, that I'll be glad we can share each of those public art that are in the parks, is that if you go right now to our parks, there's no plaques. There is no names of who did the work, when it was done, so that will all be changing. The city will be having plaques and now QR codes installed in each of our 27 pieces of art around the city, really making it feel like this open museum, right? I know I've heard Chair Herrera continue to talk about community engagement in the last year. I know something's very near to your heart. I think this is a beautiful way of engaging the community. This is an educational component that will include archives, right? So this is Angels Park, and this is Visions of Santana, Emilio Vasquez mural from 1987 as well. It is one of the most masterpieces that you have, and he's paying homage to Santa Ana here. He always pays homage also to, the indigenous and conquistador story, the colonialism of it. He talks about the working class. He paid an homage to, the founding father of Santa Ana, Spurgeon. Also talked about, the orange field. So we incorporated historical articles that talk about Santana and that talk about Emigdio. And if you go to the right a little bit, maybe, this is like a 3D, right? This is through Matterport. So anybody could actually look at the park, right? You can do a whole 360 on it. There you go. Yeah. But, the point is that you could look at the art, right? You can look at and learn from the art while you're there. But, if you're home and you need to do a little research or you want to find out like what park you can go, imagine the community engagement that can come out of this. You can do scavenger hunts, you can do bike rides on tour. You can ask people to tell you details about the piece of work for a contest, right? the sky's the limit. So if you go a little bit to the right, there's a couple of videos. Yeah, this is an oral history that Cal State Fullerton has of Emigdio Vasquez. And you can click on that interview with Emigdio Vasquez, and it will lead you to hear his oral history that was taken, I believe, 1985. And then in the bottom, I mean, there's his artist statement, but I love this. It's a mural documentary done by his daughter, Rosemary Vasquez, who's actually will be involved in the restoration and the preservation of Chicano Gothic. But this is a documentary that talks about all the murals of Emigdio everywhere. So yes, this is a very exciting moment. It's a historic moment. It is a moment where we're playing a plaque on things. I don't know if you know that when you come into this building and you see the marquee, that is a Sergio Ocadiz mural sculpture that we're also hoping to honor and put a plaque in and start bringing all these different pieces together with the city to create this different community engagement, pride, tourism, and community development. There are many ideas, but we're just starting with the basic. Let's at least name them. Let's put this QR codes, and let's put out this archives and this information. So that's it for now. Let me know if you have any questions. Hi, Ruby.
Thank you.
I'm so
Elise.
happy to hear this, is because that's the same problem we've been having with our mural on Civic Center La Raza, is that we wanted to put a plaque, and city does not have any direction on how to do it. And this would help them out and make it go much easier to put that and get the plaque and recognition that we needed. So it's been almost since we finished the plaque that we asked. It's one of the things that we have asked. So I wholeheartedly agree, and hope, to okay your policies on this. This would be great.
Yeah, and then, with that mural, it's so important. I would love to also have that QR code on there, because not only the original story of the artist, but the story of the preservation, right? The restoration is a beautiful story of 9 years of community leaders like yourself and Lucy, and some of us who never stopped believing that we could do it, right? And we did, right? Against all odds, we got it done. So this is also a testament to that spirit, the artist spirit, the creative spirit, the outside thinkers, right? The problem solvers, the visionaries. So I love hearing about the Bristol corridor. I live right on Bristol and Warner. My mind is like, oh my God, there could be so much public art. But before we even go there, like Commissioner Diaz is very good at asking, like, is the funding there? What is the structure? How do we start, right? So we start with the policy. We start with the preservation policy to maintain and preserve the works of art that we have. So when we acquire new ones, we know exactly how to move forward. And imagine if we're applying for that grant, which hopefully the city will be, for that California Arts Park grant, that's $2.8 million. We have a portfolio and we have a policy. And it's historic, right? And it's a moment in history where these murals are more important than ever to preserve. That's what I would say.
Any other comments from the commissioner? Okay, lots of, Commissioner Nelson, and then Jogway, and then we'll come back to Commissioner Diaz.
I mean, I think it's great that the preservation is fantastic. I am a little worried about the court. Might need to resurface the court there, huh? I mean, the art looks great, but the court. George, there's a project.
We can show Marinas, the Latista
No.
Marina we did.
So what you just saw right there is old, but I'm gonna tell you right now, once they install those Los Angeles Park, that entire basketball court is being resurfaced and redone, and then those murals are gonna have a really nice, it's gonna be really nice, so,
All right.
yes, the
I'm
courts
giving you a hard
are on
time.
time.
I know that's not yeah, but no, I appreciate everything, and I support it 100%. So, I mean, it's, Santa Ana is known not just art everywhere, right? From the high schools to downtown. I mean, this is this is art, so we just need to
And we
keep,
should be that open museum, you know, where people come visit for our art and our parks and our community and our kids to learn everything.
well, I'm a little ashamed because I live like 3 blocks from there, and I'm not even sure I realized that mural was there, which is sad, but yet
Right.
the reality of things. So, I mean, if you see a QR code, and next thing you know, the things, it inspires people to investigate. So, yeah, it's great.
Exactly.
Commissioner Jogway?
Can you elaborate a little bit on strong preference for artists who live and work in Santa Ana? And what do you mean by they must demonstrate a cultural understanding of Santa Ana?
Yeah, so that's on the 3.2 public art acquisition and installation. So the idea is creating first an RFQ, which is a request for qualifications, which is different than a proposal, right? So it's telling all the artists in the city to, hey, send us your resume, send us your interest in working with parks. When we think about public art, we think about murals, but there's many, many different things that we can do. Preference to local art means to me, and this process is that those opportunities would be preferential to someone who lives in that neighborhood if they're applying, if they're an artist, right? And how does that work? You have now a way that's a little bit different that's been done before, which is the selection committee. The selection committee would be 3 of the art commissioners, but it would also have 4 different type of judges, if you will, of panelists that would be choosing, which would include 4 people from that vicinity, which could be a neighborhood leader or part of the neighborhood association, a nonprofit, a church, a youth commissioner, a historian. So I think that balances out, because in the RFQ, we're also asking for what is the artist community engagement plan? What is the artist community engagement history, right? If we have, and I'm just gonna use a name, Parks has done an amazing job in choosing artists, for example, like, the Pocket Park at King, that call went out, and the association was involved in the choosing of that artist, and they chose Marina Aguilera, who is from that neighborhood, right? And I think that's the best way to do it. I think you bring your art commissioners, who have that role, but you also bring in your neighborhood leaders, you bring your churches, and that, I think, balances out when we're thinking about who's applying. If you have, we have another group of fantastic muralists like the Heavy, Kimberly Duran and Bud. They are downtown artists, they are known, they would get references from that. I think it's important to acknowledge, the artists that have worked so hard in the city to create art against all odds. And I believe this policy, through its community engagement and its process, creates a lot more equity than we've ever had. Could it be improved throughout time? Absolutely. Might it change a little bit as it becomes a citywide policy, hopefully? Yes, of course. Right now, we're focusing on those 27, pieces of art to preserve, and we're focusing on parks only, right? And we're starting slow, and we're getting the funding, little seed funding, and, we'll see how it goes to implement something citywide. And I think it's the responsibility of these commissions, right, and the staff to create those rubrics that are going to represent those RFPs, right? But one thing that I should highlight from this process that has not been done before is the request for qualifications will have a pool, right? They could do a call 3-4 times a year, every quarter, and say to any artist, hey, submit your application if you want to work with parks one day. Then let's say they're going to open up that corridor on Bristol and Warner, and they're thinking about sculpturists, So we have 6 sculpturists in our pool. They will reach out to those 6 sculpturists and say, hey, create a proposal, and we're going to give you a stipend for you to create a design, go out, talk to the community. So these proposals will be a lot more professional, and it will be more in-depth because the artists will be paid for their time to make a proposal. This is best practices that we adhere from Long Beach, Los Angeles, and San Antonio. They have been modeled after that. So we're making things more equitable than ever, you know, and I am hoping that it continues to grow in that area, especially for local artists, absolutely. I know that there were some reservations about a mural that was given out, but that was through the Arts and Culture Department and their process, and we're trying to figure out how all these, you know, opportunities are more streamlined for each commission and each department. So right now, we're just focusing on parks.
Continue, yeah, Commissioner Chavez.
So then it goes out, right, and there's this pool, but to really incentivize like Santa Ana first, would it be maybe closed first for just Santa Ana artists, or they get the first notice and then 2 days later out to everyone else, or how do you then give the preference? Because it seems like it's just still,
The preference
we're
would
going
be
to take
through
it
the
into account,
rubric.
but still
It
put it
would
out
be
to
through the
everybody.
rubric, right? So I'm assuming that when staff has the call for an RFQ first, right? It's just a bunch of applicants saying, I want to work with you one day, and if you have an opportunity, reach out to me. So staff will sit and say, okay, who are the local artists that we can reach out to for an actual proposal, right? So yes, that would be the rubric of, if you're a local artist, let's say you get an extra 5 points, right? So it would be incentivized in the equity process through the grading process, not only through the incentive of saying, hey, if you're a local artist, you should apply, right? And it also is about the themes and the cultural identity of the neighborhood, right? We have Memorial Park, such a diverse history of Memorial Park. You know, Memorial Park was founded through, you know, honoring our veterans, right? And the governor was at the opening of Memorial Park. But Memorial Park is also a family park. You know, this is my neighborhood. I walk that park every day. It's full of families playing. Last night, it was packed. You know, and it's just beautiful to see, because you have families playing soccer, cheerleaders practicing, football practice in one corner, then you have your handball, you know, and you have your veteranos and your rucos and your Chicanos out there, you know, doing handball. So we have a mix of all this. It's beautiful that you have a Chicano Gothic, and you have a beautiful pavilion that's very, you know, patriotic by Robert Del Hoyo, who completed that mural in 2010. And then you have the potential for more murals, maybe to honor our vets, or also to honor all the teams that play there, you know, all the families that play there. So I think when you make a call for art that has a theme and that's incentivized in that local, you attract local, you know, and you attract people from that neighborhood. And it's all up to the rubric and how that would be chosen.
Are you sure, Commissioner? Okay. Commissioner Nelson?
Just a quick question. So we keep saying local artists. What's the criteria? Do you have to live in Santa Ana?
Live or work in Santa Ana, I believe. That's what we agreed on. Local artist criteria is live and work.
So, I mean, I guess the next layer would be, let's say you lived in Santa Ana and then you ended up moving to Spain and you were still an artist. They have any, you know?
So that's a great question, because part of the RFP is also, what is the artist supposed to do with community engagement? And it talks about having them be on site and be accessible for that community engagement. So if, let's say if somebody's international, let's say you have Picasso's son who wants to do a mural here, and the city's all excited, right? Because they're a big artist and they put in an application. But he just wants to come in for an overnight job. He might not qualify, because the RFP is written where they have to have some community engagement in that neighborhood, you know? And what does that community engagement look like? The sky's the limit. You know, I keep talking about Memorial Park because that is my neighborhood. There is an elementary school right across. I would love to partner with that elementary school, right? That would be my community engagement, bringing those kids to the park. There's also a senior center in Jerome Park. How about the artist thinks about engaging with the senior center? So there's many ways that they have to, but that to me means they have to be more local, right? So, but I believe from the direction of staff And some of the feedback from the Arts and Culture Department is they wanted to keep it and make sure that it's non-discriminatory and it's open to all artists, right? So how do we welcome these outside artists, but how do we make sure that they also follow a process that, you know, connects, right, to our community? Another example is the RFP will require sketches, right? Will require what the sport would look like. Does that reflect the cultural identity, the needs, the goals, the dreams of that neighborhood, you know? The lady that walks by that park every day, you know? So I think that it's a more fair balance, and it creates a lot more equity.
Just to clarify, live, work, and go to school is also typically the operational definition of how we determine residency. And then just to kind of give an example, in the rubric scoring that is evaluated by, you know, the group that would be, you know, taking a look at what our project would be, let's say 100 points total is what can be achieved. And let's say there's an outside artist that has 95 points and a Santa Ana artist has 90, but because they're a Santa Ana artist, they would then be afforded those 5 points to then make them equal to the outside artist. Again, that could also work where the outside artist has 96 points and the, you know, Santa Ana artist has 90 and only has 95. The outside artist would still be ranked at a higher level at that point.
I guess for me, my question is more so like, you know, we want Santa Ana to be out in the world, right? So when we do have artists or people in whatever sport, or whatever it may be, that go out and do things great in the world, we should celebrate them as well, right? So if you do go and become an artist in some other part of the world, and you have an opportunity to come back and give back to your community, I think we should probably figure out a way to include them in the rubric, whatever, to be able to have some sort of, you know, hey, they're coming back and being part of our community in some element, whether it's the same, you know, community involvement on a daily basis, or if it's really, you know, celebrating Santa Ana worldwide, so.
And a great example of that, I would think, it would be Emigdio Vasquez, right? Emigdio Vasquez was a resident of Orange, right? But his heart was in Santa Ana as well. And when he applied for the California Arts Council Parks grant that he did receive in 1986, this is how he started all these murals. He came to us with this funding, right? And at the time, you know, we had the open door of saying, hey, Emigdio, go ahead, right? And it also, the Bowers Museum, was city funded at the time, used to have an artist in residency program for local artists that Emigdio won. So it was a combination of these entities that help Emigdio's murals get done, and someone who has deeply inspired my work, right? And we didn't say no to Emigdio because he didn't live here, right? So we have to just make sure that this policy is rooted in community engagement and cultural relevance, I should say. And I think the safeguarding of the rubric is important, the community engagement is important, those recommendations, you know, that we're asking for is important. And also the vision of the artist, right? What are you gonna put on that wall? What is the sculpture that you're putting out that the panelists are going to vote on? And again, this is a 7-member panelist that will be, you know, 3 of the arts and culture commissioners, but 4 who would be on the vicinity of that site, you know, which would be invited through the neighborhood associations or the church or, you know, KidWorks or, you know, all the other organizations that they might not think they're artists or have a say in art, but they're gonna be looking. And I think that's what's so important about public art. Public art reaches all of us, right? And it makes us wonder and it makes us think. It's an open museum. It's what's most accessible to our kids, you know, outside of the white space of a gallery or a museum. So I love how also we are open to changing and how Santa Ana continues to evolve. You know, change is the constant change. And this leaves open for, you know, innovation and other cultural things that might happen in our city. We have a big Vietnamese community that also should be supported in Little Saigon and their artists and implement all of that cultural relevance in that area. So I think the policy reaches for that, right? And I think, as I continue to mention, this is historic. This is the first time we've ever tried this, and today is the first presentation, and you will be hopefully the first yes vote on this historic moment in October. because it will be a big deal. I'll let you know that. For artists, it will be a very, 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 very welcome for many, many years.
We have Commissioner Diaz. It is, I see it as an informational item, so there may not be a vote,
Correct,
but maybe.
until October.
But yeah, but yes, we're giving feedback now.
Correct.
So first, I want to thank you for putting this together. It looks like there's a lot of work. And second, I think one of the most important things is community engagement. At times, because it has happened, someone creates an art and goes straight to city staff, says, this is what we want. But the neighborhood doesn't even know anything about it. So in that situation, I would like to see something also of what if the neighbors are not aware of it, or what if the neighbors don't agree to the certain art? What could happen? Do you have a plan or
I
strategy?
think that's part of the RFP process and the community engagement part. So I remind you of the panelists, right? So let's say for Pacific Park, let's say Pacific Park is going to have a new mural now, right? They might call Commissioner Diaz to be part of that panelist since you're also a neighborhood leader, right? What else is around there, right? So I think having those voices, you know, your neighborhood association, your community, your residents, the guy who might own the store, you know, around the corner, to have a vote, right? Art is complex, and art is also a vision of the artist and how it speaks and what they want to say, right? And hopefully the artist will be able to voice that through their application, right? But ultimately, you will have a say in how that is chosen, right? You will first see a call for art through the Parks Department, and maybe, you know, you give them an email and say, hey, I want to be a part of this panel. Is this an opportunity? And I believe that's something that staff is working on how to reach more of these panelists moving forward that are outside of the Arts and Culture Department and just staff, right?
But I do see that, let's say, for example, if there's going to be a mural at Memorial Park, the neighbors would be, you know, the immediate voice for it. So that's that.
Right, and that's part of the RFP. So we're asking the artist, before they submit an RFP or a design, how did you engage the community? So the panelists could see, oh, this artist went to their neighborhood meeting, or this artist went and talked to the public school that's right across the street. Or, you know, this artist wants to do a mural honoring immigrants in the Narciso Barranca family, and they engage them. We don't know, you know, the sky's the limit, but we're actually adding that community engagement as part of the process, as a step the artist has to do. We're not dictating exactly what they have to do because they're artists, and we want to make sure that we also give them room for expression and creativity, but we're asking them to give us, what's your community engagement plan? And what was your community engagement plan to get the sketch? What was the idea here?
And I look forward to seeing it because it's very important to know more about the artist, to know more, like you have the QR codes, that is very, very important. And perhaps in the future, once it does get approved, I don't know if there could be a connection between yourself and the Travel Santa Ana, because they have a page. They have a page of different art, but with what you're describing here, it would actually be complete.
Right, and we are, you know, in conversation with Maria Gonzalez, with Travel Santa Ana, which they did the first initiative to at least map a lot of our art out here. So yes, I mean, that would be a great partnership to continue and enhance, right? Now that we're gonna have this 3D sort of tours and the educational component. I mean, even just now, adding those QR codes, let's say, you know, you went to go see Emigdio, that could be a school stopping by with the kids on a bus and having them research Emigdio Vasquez right on the wall, on the park, with their phones, you know, as immediately as that QR code gets placed. That's an educational component at our park that, you know, can bring schools and curriculums of teachers, ethnic studies, all kinds of things into our parks, you know, for a different way of seeing the park, not only the health and the wellness, but the spirit, the soul, the heart of a park. I would always say it's the art.
in the history. So thank you, Alicia, and thank you so much for Mr. Public Works Director, Superintendent. Thank you so much for taking up on this big job, because your team is gonna have a lot of work. Thank you. So I'm giving you a heads up as to thank you, and you're gonna be very busy.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Thank you.
Any comments or questions around the public arts policy?
No further comments.
Commissioner Reyes, any comments on the public arts? Commissioner Wu? Commissioner Jogwe?
I wanted to advocate for the rubric, maybe like 2 points or something if you were born in Santa Ana. So I think it would then give, is also if you live and work, but it also gives it additional points to someone if you work there or were from here and then continue to stay and work here, because a lot of people are born here and then leave, but it still helps people that I'm still connected to Santa Ana, say if they don't even live here. So adding points for a person that was born in Santa Ana, that's what I would.
Or strong ties. I know, folks immigrate from other parts of the country and live, claim Santa Ana as their home, but I understand the strong ties component.
Yeah, I mean, that's another example. Like Marina Aguilera was a resident of Santa Ana for many years. She's not, right? So how do we make sure that we're not closing our doors to these, born and raised in Santa Ana that might not be here, but they have this attachment? So yes, it's inclusive in that form. And I love the idea of the rubric, which we did not include a rubric in the policy, but that's something that staff could develop later on. And maybe we could do a small adjustment on that, on the RFP process for next time in October, and then we can add that. That's a great suggestion.
Alicia, so proud of you, and you're such a great advocate, artist, and I know that you put so much work into not only the policy, you're thinking about the preservation, the immediacy of the preservation, but also the long-term vision for how do we make this an economic engine? How do we think about this as our preserving our cultural identity? And how do we bring this as a historical perspective to like upcoming generations? Like, hey, we got to keep things as they are. Things are being erased, and to reclaim that and to have it as a part of the city on the record for our staff to kind of work on. I just want to commend you for your strong efforts. For your policy, I did have some language that I wanted to edit. In relationship to 3.2 public art with strong ties to Santa Ana, including those who have lived, or and then as mentioned, go to school. So I agree with this component of I have an artist friend in New York. But he's like, show me something about, is how do I connect back to my community, and maybe he's here for 2-3 months working on something. But I think that's important in terms of have lived, or the strong ties to Santa Ana. How to quantify that is maybe something that, you can help us think through. To incorporate the scope of work, conduct site visits, and lead meaningful, and you did include meaningful, and I think it's so important, the community engagement piece. You listed out some engagement strategies.
Examples.
As examples, yes. And I wanted to maybe incorporate as part of the Sunshine Ordinance, I believe it's 1,500 feet in a surrounding area. So something that overlaps with that as a ways of like, hey, we're going to do public art here. Let's notice, folks around. One of the strategies that I think would be important that we've discussed here as a engagement strategy is virtual engagement, including webinars and social media. So I think that's another way that the public can, or the artists can help to incorporate like a webinar or other like means, as well as I included engagement in Spanish and Vietnamese, or pertaining to however feasible that is, or where relevant. And those were some of the edits that I kind of wanted to include that I thought would be important. But great work. I think in relationship to, I think what I'm hearing from the commission is that we're supportive of this policy. And I think I'm also hearing, at least from our superintendent, as it relates to some of the, how do we preserve the current murals that we have? What does that undertaking look like for you? Is that something that we can do in-house, in the staff, in the policy? I did see like an RFP for someone else. Were you kind of thinking about that right now in terms of some of the immediacy, right? That's going to be some of the pieces to start with.
So now I know we've collaborated with Alicia on a couple options. I think she gives me the flexibility of either training my staff on preserved murals or going out and seeking an RFP. So I think we have options. Kind of depends as we roll it out, and then she's gonna have a mural that she's gonna go and kind of show and tell, and then we'll probably then decide what we do from there.
Alicia, what's your preference in terms of like this piece?
That's a complex question because we have different levels, right? We have basic maintenance, right? Which to me would be just right now basic applying of color shield to protect at least the murals from sun damage and high quality public art anti-graffiti, which works a little bit different than the one you get at Home Depot per se. So let's say a mural got tagged and it's hate speech or it's a gang related, right? If the anti-graffiti is already on, it's very depending on how bad it is, but if it's just a couple tags, I think, the staff could learn on how to take that off with the right training. If you're talking, let's say, about Chicano Gothic or Visions of Santa Ana, which is an Amigdia mural that's 38 years old, then, you might want to reach out to a consultant to conserve the cultural landmark that's coming up on the 50 year, right? There's different definitions for conservancy, right? Conservancy work means that you're not retouching, you're conserving the work that is there. So for example, in my personal preference, for example, for Visions of Santa Ana, the mural is mostly in good shape, but it has some decay. It's also the basketball courts. There's some balls that hit it, especially on the bottom, so it chips away. So it needs some glue, it needs some love, right? That is something that's more specialized than park staff is trained to do. So I think it's a case-by-case basis. But when we're talking and this is the first time that we're approaching this as a city, and we want to make sure that we establish the policy so we can create the funding, right? A basic funding, so we can have at least the basic covered, which is this high anti-graffiti, this light upkeeping, and then we can talk about, okay, which works of art can we get grants for, or go out there to preserve more, like Emilio's work per se, or Sergio Cadiz's work, right? That's more of a citywide effort. But that's how I would look at it. So the policy is a building step to that. It is rough at the moment. It's a draft on how it's going to move. But for parks, this is how we hope to approach it. Basic maintenance at the moment, and then prioritize which murals might need preservation. For example, the fitness courts were a grant. There was a national campaign, and some of those vinyls have been ripped, and that's a more affordable way to repair those, because that's digital art that can be reprinted, and recovered. It's very different than a sculpture or a mural. So it depends on the work. And I think we've created a great partnership, and, to create transparency, then there should be that process of an RFP to have different art conservators and local people apply and see how we move forward.
Great. And I'm excited. I'm excited that you all have options. And I know that, thinking about the art as preservation and what's best to kind of, particularly for the Gothic art, that's, a lot of this is very historical. So I think kind of moving forward with this policy, I do see that it's a start to something. And then with obviously coming back and with the support of the council, we can start to address some of these issues.
Exactly.
If there's no further comments or questions, I think, thank you, Alicia, for this presentation, and thank you, staff.
For your input, and we'll make those adjustments and edits to bring it back to you in October and make some history.
Great, thank you.
Can I make one request? We threw a lot of information at you tonight. If at all possible, within the next week, if you have any further thoughts, questions, comments, if you could direct them to Hannah, and she will direct them over to Tim and myself, so that we can work them in. And I thank you for your attention and all your input.
Thank you. So now we're at the end of the meeting. We'll now close the meeting with any closing comments, starting with our executive director. Do you have any closing comments?
I mean, I have lots to talk about, but I'll keep it short. As Director Pagano said, we have some events coming up. We also, this weekend out at the zoo, we have our orchards and exotic plants exhibits going on out there, which is included with the zoo Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 to 4. So you guys get a chance at that. And I'll let Ethan probably go more into detail next time with you guys. But if you guys have not heard, and I am very proud to announce this, our Santa Ana Zoo, your Santa Ana Zoo, the community Santa Ana Zoo, went to Tampa Bay, Florida on September 15th, and we got our AZA accreditation back. And what I am most proud about that is the team got a standing ovation from the committee and fellow zoo members from all over the country. And it was very humbling and very proud of the team. So I'll let him go more into detail about what's coming up, what's going on out there, because there's a lot coming up. As we said, we have our Autumn Fest open house coming up next week out at Salgado Community Center. And then we also have we call it the senior event, but I call it the senior party because, you know, it's a time where we've set aside, we came in and we wanted to make an event strictly for our seniors to have them in all the fun. So our International Older Adults Day is going to be a blast, as it was last year at Jerome. So I will send you guys all an invite. And I know Sylvia is excited because she's going to be out there dancing again. So, and Nancy, hope you'll be out there with us as well too. But I hope to get you guys come out there and join in all the festivities. Other than that, I know it was a long weekend, or a long weekend, I'm sorry, a long night. Hannah, thank you for all you do. Team members that came out to do, for you that came out today, thank you so much. And of course, Hiram back here. And thank you for supporting what we do and our mission to give a better quality of life for our community.
Thank you, Executive Director. I will now call on the commissioners. Commissioner Diaz?
It was a long meeting, lots of great information. You guys are doing an amazing job, and I love you all.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez?
Thank you for all the insight, all your hard work, and keeping us moving forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Jagwe?
I thought it was a long but productive meeting. I think we went over a lot, and just thank you guys for everything. That was it.
Commissioner Nelson has left the floor. Commissioner Reyes?
As well, thank you so much. There's so much information and so much, yes, a long night, but also a lot of stuff is going on, and I'm very, very happy of everything that is going on. Thank you.
Commissioner, thank you. Commissioner Wu?
Yes, it is a long night. I just want to make a recommendation that I want to recommend that we have a budget meeting so we can recommend some of the projects that we favor, and this will also support some of the projects that you and Park and Rec want to do because it's incredible right now.
Yeah, as we get closer toward our mid-year, we will have a meeting on where we're going mid-year, as well as when we start getting into the discussion of our budget year for God dang, we're going to say 26, 27 now. We will go over all that too, so you guys can help us, you know, advocate with the community as well as our council members. So that's already on the books with not just our team, but as well as the finance team.
Perfect.
Vice Chair Zacarias Torres?
I'm looking forward to seeing the interpretive signs around the city. I know it's something that we've discussed before in the past for a while now. I'm also looking forward to seeing the Bristol corridor envisioned. I know it was a long meeting, but I kind of feel refreshed seeing all of the future planning that all of the residents will be enjoying.
And before you go, I did forget one thing. For those of you that joined us for the parade, I want to thank you all for joining our mascots on on the horse carriage and going down Main Street with us. A lot of people talked about it, and a lot of people are happy to see you guys out there with our youth commissioners. So thank y'all for doing that, and I think we might maybe make that annual thing and have you guys out there, because it was very impactful, and, you know, I got a lot of feedback from seeing all of you guys out there with our team. So thank y'all for doing that.
I lost my comments. I can't, it's a long night tonight. But thank you all so much. You know, we're here to conduct city business, and this is probably one of our most densest meetings that we've had in a while. And, you know, just looking forward to, it was great to review a lot of the material. But thank you so much, staff. And the next Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 23rd, off-site at the Santa Anita Community Center at 5:30 p.m. Before the commission, I hereby adjourn the meeting at 8:53 p.m.